G'day listeners and welcome to another episode of the Scouting Australia podcast, powered by Australian Property Scout Buyers Agency. I'm your host, Sammy Gordon, and today, guys, you are in for a good one. I've got sitting across from me a good old dinky die Aussie fella who I've had the pleasure of working with for many, many years. He's a self-confessed encyclopedia of what not to do in the property game. Thanks for giving me that one as a bit of ammo there, mate. Big Mr. Mark Crute, mate. Welcome to the podcast, mate.
Thanks, Sammy. Really appreciate the opportunity to come on and have a chat.
Mate, really looking forward to having you here. It's man, you and I have been chatting about this for a long time. I've been banking on you jumping on the podcast for quite a while as well, mate. I know you're a long time listener. How's it feel being on the other side of the headsets, mate, of the mic?
I'm shitting myself, to be quite honest. I don't normally get rattled by a lot of things, but yeah, this has certainly put me outside my comfort zone, mate. So thanks for that,
mate. Thank you, mate. It's my absolute pleasure. But mate, I know, man, you've got some wisdom, some pearls that you want to share with a lot of people. And you know, something you've sort of, in my opinion, famously said to me a few times is around, you know, a lot of people get to 50 and they think it's too late. And mate, I really appreciate you jumping on and sharing the journey because. Mate, you're the epitome of it. It ain't being too late, regardless of what age it is. And so I think jumping on and sharing your story and what we're going to chat about today, I think it's going to inspire a lot of people and show a lot of people whether it's kids, your son sitting over here as well, whether we're in their 20s or 30s and they can show this, you know, to their parents, or whether it's people's in their 50s, 60s, whatever it is, even people in their 40s who think it's going to be too late, whatever it is, mate. It's inspiring what you've done. Your portfolio that we're about to break down is bloody inspiring. And mate, I think it's a journey and a portfolio, very, very much, and a story, very, very much worth sharing as well.
Yeah, mate. So I've got to say, this is not just my journey. So my wife, Kaylee, she's a big part of this. She's my North Star, if you like. She's the one that sort of taps me on the back of the head if I get too excited about something, or you know, she'll highlight things that I don't see. And usually she's that calming influence. It's like, stop, think about it. She's very good. So, yeah, I've got to acknowledge Kaylee. Just absolutely, she's provided so much support through this. Yep. Always been supportive through a lot of things. You know, I'm sure we'll get into it, but there's a lot of things we haven't done and that we haven't done well. And she's stuck with me through it all. You know, she hasn't said, no, I don't trust you anymore. She's sort of gone with it. So she's been fantastic.
Beautiful.
And the other thing I've got to say is, I'm sure it's not very often that you've got someone that comes on here that makes Jimmy look like he's got a lot of time left in the investing world, mate. But I guess I'm that one. So good, mate, on you, Jimmy.
I've got to say, mate, as much as you're trying to give Jimmy a bit of clout there, mate, I think you look quite a lot younger than Jimmy. So mate, you're looking quite good for your age. I think Jimmy's looking quite the opposite. So I know you're trying to help him out there, but mate, let's not give him too much love.
No, the producers' makeup's helped me out a bit.
Mate, she's done a good job. But mate, there's something I want to touch on there because there's a lot of people that have made, you know, all jokes aside, mate, a lot of people have made bad investing decisions and made mistakes in investing and lost money in investing as well. And literally, again, I reiterate the fact of your point of what you've said to me, like almost like an walking encyclopedia of what not to do. Yep. In both investing and property investing. And yet, you know, your wife, Kaylee, she's sort of stuck through the whole thing. And again, mate, you started investing with me in your early 50s, and we've gone pretty hard with what you've done in the time frame you have as well.
Absolutely.
Why? You know, for one, actually, I've got a question for you on this, but then again, you know, why do you think she sort of kept backing you through this, even though you've had the losses, you know, across different deals and different sort of strategies and stuff over the years as well? We see a lot of people that a partner will make one mistake in a journey, and then let's say a husband or a wife makes a mistake, and then the husband or wife goes, "Nah, we're never doing that again. That's it. We're never investing. We're just going to pay off the family home." Why do you think Kaylee's been so much on the journey with you to still keep pushing forward and trying to achieve something massive?
Look, Kaylee and I have been best mates since the day we met. You know, and yes, dearly love her, and I'm sure that's reciprocated. But I think it's just that trust that's built in a relationship over years and years. And you know, I've always tried to sort of educate Kaylee where I can around what I'm doing, and explain to her my justification around things, and she accepts that. And the information that I sort of provide to her is researched. It's not just me sort of coming up with something. It's following a pundit, someone that's written a book. I think I spoke to you earlier. In the early days, I read a book by Jan Summers and some of the people around those times. And it was really simple theories back then, It was like buy a house and in a blue chip location, near supermarkets, near railways, that beast is going to double every 7 years, But I guess the point is you're listening to someone that you think has done it. Yeah. And in a lot of cases, I think those people may have been the lucky ones that just bought in the right location at the right time and it boomed and they were able to move forward and move on it. Just by way of the fact that I'm actually reading stories from people we think have done it. I was able to, I guess, Kaylee trusted what I read and how I assessed it.
Yeah. So you weren't just shooting from the hip. You were doing some research and then bringing almost like a strategy of like, well, this is what I've read about this, what this person supposedly has done or whatever as well. Yes. This is a strategy that I want to sort of follow, the path I want to follow as well.
Correct.
Okay, interesting. And she still stayed through on the journey as well. So even when you sort of got to the point of coming to me as well, she's like, she was still back to you and still said, yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All the way. You were the third buyer's agent we've been to.
Yep.
So again, she stuck with me through that. We never made, I don't think, we didn't make any drastically bad decisions with the other buyer's agents.
Yep.
But we certainly wouldn't be in the position we are today if we hadn't come across to yourself.
Yeah. I love that, mate. Man, a couple of the other points as well I wanted to sort of touch on before we jump into the journey is, and I don't mean to keep banging on to the fact of like you said, around some mistakes you've been made as well, that you've made in the journey as well.
Yep.
But what sort of prompted the fact of, so many people, they do hit 50 and they think, fuck, it's too late. I don't have time. I don't want to risk, let's say, the family home or risk what money they have at that point in time, whether they've made mistakes or not. And so often it's people who actually have never done anything before.
Yep.
And then they're like, oh, well, I don't want to do anything in case I risk the family home or whatever. You said to me around that, like you hit 50 and so many people think it's too late. Why are you, vehemently against that and that it ain't too late? Like it's always worth having a crack.
Look, don't get me wrong, Sam. Like I had a lot of confidence in you when we touched base. I looked at your story. There was a few things that I could see how genuine you are. I'd watched you on SPI, so I started working with you before Scouting Australia podcast kicked off.
Yep.
But there was something in your passion. You already had, I think it was a mid-30s size portfolio at that time, and you're still getting off on making deals under market value. And I thought, this guy's so passionate that really sort of resonated with me and gave me the confidence to move forward. Where I'm going with this is we've now done multiple deals with you.
Yep.
Every deal has done exactly what you expected it to do. Yes, we all know timing is variable, but the bottom line is you've got the rungs on the board, mate. And for people at my age, I guess you get nervous about it. You get brought up throughout life and told, once you get to this age, take your super, make sure it's safe, because if the stock market crashes, you're in a world of trouble. Don't go into property. Property goes down. It's all about being safe. But for me, that leverage component of what's possible and working with someone that's got the rungs on the board like you have, everything comes with risk. I'm not saying there's no risk, but you mitigate risk by working out who you're going to work with, researching that side of it. And then when you do, you get into something like this, mate, you trust the people you're paying to do the job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm more than happy to give you guys a fee because I know exactly, one, I'm probably going to get that back just on the deal we get, but what happens beyond that is, it's far greater than anything I've seen in the past, and it's consistent over a number of years now.
Yep. Yeah, I love it, man. I love it, and I appreciate the feedback and sort of my little takeaways from that, man. You sort of stacking the deck with the right people in your corner. So you're doing the research first, and then you're stacking the deck with the right people in your corner, and then you're backing yourself with the leverage piece as well. So then put as much of it as you can into play. I mean, I think a funny thing is like I look, it's not funny, but I look back on it with my parents, and they're very similar age to you. I remember I was trying to get them into you know, and I hope you don't mind me disclosing, obviously 55 years of age. We talk about it a little bit because we obviously do a bit of planning around what you're doing in your portfolio. But it was funny because my parents, when they were the same age as you, I was trying to get them into doing house and grannies in Sydney, you know, back when they first came in 2010, and you could buy a house for 250, 300K, build a granny on it for 100,000. You're all in for, you know, 350, 400 grand. And those things are worth 1.2, 1.5 million. And I tell that story quite frequently these days, but they thought they didn't have enough time. You know, they thought, oh, well, I'm not going to make enough money off this one deal or these two deals to be able to retire. And man, that sort of scarcity mindset and the lack of being able to see the bigger picture. And in all fairness to them as well, I don't have the runs on the board that I do now. I just tried to explain what I had learned and what I had researched and what made sense to me. But they didn't think they had enough time, that the individual deal wasn't going to make them enough to retire on from that one piece. And then, man, they sort of left it so late that they just ended up never really doing anything. They did a couple of things in the last couple of years that I've helped them with. But outside of that, they left it too late. And it's all too common. It happens way too much with this exact scenario too. So,
absolutely,
mate, I love it that you back yourself with it. You've tried so many things over so many years, and some of them have worked, and then some of them haven't. You sort of kept pushing forward, man. And now the beautiful part is you've sort of stacked the deck with a team that you now have the results with, and that you're now pushing through to finish the job with as well. But it only took you 20 or 30 years worth of investing to get here, but you didn't stop. You know what I mean? And I love that.
Look,
I think it's super commendable.
The other big driver I've got there, so I took on an executive role over in Queensland back in 2019. And you know, one thing led to another, but that position didn't work out for me at the time. Essentially, I ended up without a job. You know, and what that made us do is, you know, look inside. What have we got? You know, like. Back then, I was, you know, 50. And we were looking, you know, so we were looking at that, and essentially we had $400,000 equity in our own home, and we didn't have anything else. And then you start looking at, all right, you want to own your own home when you retire. You know, you need money to live. The whole works and jerks, and we couldn't even buy ourselves a decent property. You know, and it's really. Eye-opening when you have a look at inside and you look and you see, you know, you're getting older, you know, you've worked your whole life. Like both of us have worked hard our whole lives, and we want to be able to have that opportunity to do things, whether it's travel, whether it's spending time with our kids and their kids. You know, we've given up, you know, particularly me with the days, the hours I've spent at work, I've given up a lot of time with my kids. You know, and I want to be able to spend that time with them in the future when I stop work. And I want to stop work before I'm 60, before I'm 65, before I'm 67, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I love that. And you've spoken to me before around the generational wealth piece as well, of not only building something for yourself, which obviously first and foremost is what you need to do to be able to get off the tools and not have to keep working as hard as you are.
Absolutely.
But also having that piece that in time you're going to be able to hand down and pass down to your kids as well. So I know that's super important to you too.
Yeah, absolutely. So if I was to go back to late 2022 when I spoke to both yourself and Jimmy about coming on board, you know, the initial strategy that we come up with, Kaylee and I had the plan. What we wanted to do is achieve 50,000 passive, excuse me, by the time I was 55, so July 1 this year. And the idea was that we'd have some assets sitting off the back of that, and then that portfolio would grow to 120 passive by the time the bread and butters and everything matured. And that was going to allow us to travel for 5 years. We were going to live cheap on the road, you know, caravan, whatever we were going to do. And I remember first conversation with you, and when you said, "What's your goals?" and I said, 50 grand to start with. And it was like, well, I don't know what. He goes, "Yeah, we're going for 120, you know." and it was like, once I understood your strategy, which School of Property really helped a lot. But once I understood how the strategy worked, I then understood why that figure that such a low figure. It was easier to look at with the time we had, the higher numbers, and things have exceeded what we expected. Back then, our view was, we're not going to do what our parents have done, where they want to just pay a house off for 30 years, wait until they die and they've got a house to hand on to the kids.
Yep.
They don't enjoy retirement. It's all about the house, so you've got something to pass on to the kids. And it might sound a bit rough, but our view was, we're the ones that are working hard our whole life to put stuff together. So when we retire, that's for us to enjoy our retirement. Kids are smart, kids are motivated, they'll survive in the world we have.
Yep.
But now, in seeing what the outcome is today, and we're only talking 3 years, Sammy.
Yeah.
3 years down the track, I'm sitting here going, you know what? This needs to be about generational wealth. I'm really conscious of, the middle class possibly disappearing, the haves and the have-nots.
Yes.
I certainly do not want to see my kids sitting in the have-not group, and nor do I want to see my grandkids or beyond. So this stuff's really important for us.
Man, I love that piece around the haves and the have-nots, and I think it's becoming more and more prevalent out there. I think more and more people are sort of seeing that's the way that things are moving as well. So, man, I think it's a really wise way of sort of looking at it. And I think one of the really cool things, we were chatting about this before we even came up and started recording as well, around the empowering your son and your kids as well to really be looking at this as them understanding they need to build their own wealth as well, and them actually being excited about going out and doing it too, rather than just passing them down money in a certain amount of time, but actually empowering them through the wealth creation journey as well, man. So I love that, dude. And I share that very, very similar view on that, which we discussed.
Absolutely, mate. I've got 3 children. Yep. My youngest is 17. He's probably not sort of been bitten by the bug yet. But certainly my oldest fella and my daughter, so Jack and Matilda, they've both indicated that they want to go down that path.
Yep.
So Jack's looking to come on board with yourself, hopefully within 6 months, him and his partner.
Beautiful.
Matilda's, she's my little princess, but she's as tight as a fish's arsehole, I'm going to say. So she's already hit us up for the go and guarantor.
Yeah.
And look, she's a great little saver.
Yep.
She's bought herself a Prado and paid that off. So she owns her car. I think she'll move really well.
Yeah, beautiful.
So really happy with that. Harry, as I said, he's 17. He hasn't really been bitten by the bug yet.
Yep.
We've got to get him moving.
And I'll tell you, the other kids start buying, Jack and Matilda start buying, mate, he'll get bitten by the bug real quick. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, we're hoping. We've got to get rid of the PlayStations and that sort of stuff with them at that age, I think, mate. But
it's a funny thing. No, it's a funny thing, man, because what we see, so it's like the parents will be doing it, that's one thing, but then when one kid buys it, it's like, holy shit, hang on a second. They just bought a house and then they buy another one if they're doing the right thing, and then they pull the equity, buy another one. Hang on, so you've got 3 houses in a year. Oh, hang on a second.
Yeah,
I want a piece of this.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I put the young fella and his partner straight onto Bailey's story, mate. Yeah. That was, I thought that would resonate with him because he just bought himself a 79 series, and it's like, you need to go and have a look at this. So to be fair, he lives in a very remote location and he needs a good, reliable truck.
Yep.
So I'm not too hard on him on that, but the pair of them earn good money, and I think they'll get that paid off, and they'll be knocking on your door within 6 months.
Yeah,
so
beautiful.
What's the address of that place you just bought?
It's about my own one. Bloody hell, you coming knocking, eh? You coming knocking. Bloody hell, mate. Bloody hell. He's already onto it.
PPR, mate.
But I'll tell you what, on that note, in a funny note, we when we rented, so we're sitting in an Airbnb at the moment, and for anyone who hasn't picked up yet, we're sitting in an Airbnb in Darwin. We've got a penthouse in the Mantra, and we obviously, when we come up to record podcasts, I did a live yesterday on Pizza and Property around the Darwin property market. And we obviously wanted to get a nice place. So when yourself and we've got a couple others coming in to do the podcast with a bit later as well. We had a nice setting, we had good lighting, all the rest of it. And it's funny, mate, like we've had the maddest time in Darwin. It's been funny as we've met heaps of good, obviously, connections that we've got here as well. both property managers and sales agents. There's just so many good people around here. But mate, we're sitting up here in this penthouse. We've got a nearly 360-degree view of the ocean, everything that's going on around it. Mate, it's beautiful blue skies. It's mate, I'll tell you what, it's not a bad place to be. And everyone that we've met loves it up here. They're happy as anything, and they love it up here as well. So it's cool, man.
Mate, people get scared of Darwin and the weather, but look, to be fair, you know, you'll acclimatise. You know, when you first step off the plane from, you know, down south,
Yeah.
you know, that humidity will knock you in the face, and
Yeah.
you sort of think, how the hell does someone live up here?
Yeah.
You adjust to it, you adapt to it. You know, it's fishing, hunting country. You know, like if you,
That's what everyone says to me.
yeah, absolutely, mate. That's what Darwin is. You know, you come up here for that rugged lifestyle.
Yeah.
You know, and it is great. It's you know, there's a lot of history in Darwin. There's a lot of, you know, history across the Northern Territory, and we love it here. You know, I don't think we're not going to be here forever.
Yeah.
We've certainly got future plans. At the moment, we're actually living, you know, some way from Darwin in a very remote community, which has certainly added challenges. I think I mentioned to you earlier.
For sure.
You know, being remote and trying to get sort of documentation done and hook up with certain people. With some of the processes, but mate, it's worth it. You know, bringing your kids up in this environment, teaching them this way, absolutely, mate.
Yeah.
You know,
No, I love it. It's a funny thing, man. You mentioned about the humidity and the heat, because I remember when I first moved to the Gold Coast, it's very different, especially in summer. It's very different to say Sydney or Melbourne or something. I'm originally from Sydney. Moved up to the Gold Coast is different, and then I was here yesterday recording with Todd, who's from Adelaide, and he steps off, man, he's just dripping, he's sweating bullets straight away. He's like, how aren't you sweating? And it's just like, well, the GC, like Queensland, you know, in general, isn't that different. Obviously, it is different, but it's not that different from up here because it's got that humidity piece.
Absolutely.
So it's like it's still hot, and I still could feel it, and it's still warmer and more humid than it is on the GC. But it's funny to see the acclimatization difference of the Adelaidean coming up here, which is pretty much in line, you know, as a horizontally on Australia with Sydney. It is how quickly it hit him and how differently it sort of affects him. But it's the same thing, man. Like the GC, I've purely acclimatized to it now. I love it, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
hang on a minute, aren't you Todd Sloan?
Well, down the bottom, and I'm calling Mark, and he comes up behind me.
I thought you
thought you were on Pizza and Property.
I thought I was on. I've mapped out what pizza I'm going to bloody read out, mate.
Mate, that's in there. Well, I know what you're going to be hitting me with in the rapid fire, man. Mate, I love it.
Sorry, okay.
No, you're good. No, we're not cutting that, mate. We're keeping it in here. That's good, man. That's good. It's a fun thing to recap, just around even being up here in a different part of the world. But I love seeing, seeing and being around all different parts of Australia. It's an awesome country, and you showed me where you were from. You know, like you were saying, very remote community in East Arnhem. So it's cool, man. That's cool, and I appreciate you for making the trip over and flying over to Darwin itself too,
mate. You have no idea how appreciative I am for what you guys have done. You know, getting that email asking me if I'd be interested. You know, it's humbling because you don't. How do I explain it? You know, you don't. While you're going through this stuff with properties, you're so busy looking at moving forward and what you're doing, you're not really looking at what the actual portfolio is doing, you know. And it was only when you sort of sent that through, I sort of went, why is he asking me to go on the podcast, you know? And we sat down and went through it. You know, I knew we'd done well, don't get me wrong. Yeah. We don't just sit it there and forget about it. But when I actually went through the numbers and started looking at the overall portfolio, it was phenomenal what we've seen, what the outcome was. But yeah, mate, I'm really grateful for the opportunity, and hopefully the information and my story will resonate with people, particularly guys that are, you know, maybe in their late 40s, early 50s, that, you know, can really take a lot from it and take confidence from that they can still move forward. You know, and I think I said to you guys earlier, you know, the greatest thing about the strategies that you develop, you know, so much of it is rinse and repeat. Yeah. You know, and it really comes down to the more years you got, the better opportunities you get, or better outcome you can aim for. Of course. You know, I'm envious of, you know, someone that's 10 years my junior, Jimmy. You know, I'm envious of the time they've got to do it, because I know if I had another 5 or 10 years, where I'm at right now, I could really send this thing into orbit.
Yep.
You know, but the one thing you can't buy back is time.
Yep.
And that's something people need to think about. You know, that's why I talk to my kids, and that's what I tell them, you know, get it established now, get into it, get it happening.
Yep.
5, 7 years, you've got an asset base that'll be second to none. And if you want to go and do a job that pays you 50 grand a year because it makes you happy, you can do it.
Yep.
You know, you don't have to be shooting for the top of organisations and all that sort of stuff, carrying the stress of those roles. You know, work hard now, put the hours in, and achieve what you're going to do. So anyway, that was a long thanks, wasn't it?
Nah, no worries, man. No, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it, man. I think it segues perfectly into what we're moving into, which obviously is talking about the portfolio. And I know, man, obviously, you know, I can tell as you're talking about that, it obviously means a lot to you what you've done, and I appreciate the thanks as well, man. The simple fact is there's only so much that we can do, right? I can tell you everything in terms of what I think you should do, what you could do, source of properties for you. But like you say, mate, you're out there, you know, a long way from proper civilization with where you are right now, with where you're working and everything.
Yep.
But you could so easily have used all those excuses as to not do it, you know. I mean, but at the end of the day, you're the one that's got to pull the trigger. You're the one that's got to sign the loan docs. You're the one that's got to make the calls and speak to the brokers and the accountants and us and work through it all and all the rest of it, man. And at the end of the day, it's still down to you, you know. And so that's why I appreciate the thanks. But like, it's you, man, that's gone through and built this portfolio as well. We've done it in partnership, but it's a bloody impressive thing you've gone on to do.
It's funny
as well.
you say that, because one of the things when in thinking through this, I remember back to you talking about, I think it was your story when you done it, and you were saying, you know, what right do I have? All those sort of things. You know what? I get it. Like that's sort of how I've sort of felt. I'm almost a little bit like a fraud. And I know that might sound silly, but when you're just signing a few papers, you know, absolutely, you've got to make a decision. I'm not saying it's easy.
Yeah.
All right. It certainly has its challenges.
Yep.
But when you come out the other end, it's Sammy Gordon and his research and markets and all the rest of it. And that's why, you know, I've got so much gratitude for you guys, because you've changed our lives, Sam. You know, and that's, you know, there's not many people anyone can say that to. So, you know.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Nah, all good.
Honestly, Mark, man. No, honestly, I really do appreciate it. It's a funny thing, because you mentioned before around like this still gets juiced up by buying below market value, you know, 20, 30, 40 grand, whatever it is. I do, man. I do. I love it, because I know it's a funny thing. It's like people ask me, it's actually, it almost like it's perfect. You sort of saying that in the essence of like, people ask me like why I still do it. And it's because, man, I still remember myself as a kid, like when I was 19, when I bought the first one, and even in my 20s, I didn't really know what I was doing.
Yep.
And I look at my parents and like they didn't take my word for it, because they didn't have the runs on the board yet. But if I had been there and had the runs on the board, you know, and myself as a 20-year-old Sammy Gordon had been able to refer someone like myself that actually has the runs on the board 15 years later, 16 years later, maybe they would have done something all the time ago, which would have been circa your age now. And it's moving, man, because like, that's why I still take every deal personally. You know, every deal that goes out, you have to take it personally, because there's so much of a bigger picture here of someone actually having success around this too. So it's, dude, no, I'm with you completely.
Mate, one thing to think about, mate, your mum and dad come from a very proud generation, you know, and that'd be a hard pill to swallow, I reckon.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in any offensive way, but
in what way in particular?
You know, look, you're the parents, you're raising your children, you're responsible for the outcomes, you know what I mean?
Yep.
To have your kids turn up and I can fix it for you doesn't always wash well.
Yeah, fair enough.
You know,
fair
but
enough, man.
you know, I've got a son now that's a diesel fitter, and you know, at the end of the day, he knows more about cars than I do.
Yeah.
You know, and that's you know, I'm not going to go and pay someone else to fix my car if I can get him to do it for nothing.
Yeah.
You got to get something out of this, mate. They've cost you a lot of money. But no, I just wonder, you know, I know you've said in the past podcast your old man was a copper.
Yeah, he was.
You know, I come out of the justice system.
Yep.
You know, I've worked in the justice system for 33 years, and I know there's a level of pride that comes with working in those sort of careers. And I'd imagine that would have been a hard pill to swallow.
For sure,
Yeah.
man, for sure.
On the same time, mate, I could imagine the pride would be pretty pretty right up there.
Pretty
right
decent now.
Yeah,
now it is.
I bet it is. Yeah, and rightly so, mate.
Yeah.
Rightly so.
No, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Well, Mark, man, I've enjoyed this a lot to this point, but let's hook into what we're here for as well, which is the portfolio. I'm really looking forward to dissect and unpack this. Man, hit us with it. What are the high level numbers? What are we running with? Why are you sitting in here today? What have you achieved, man?
One property.
One property.
One property.
Primary residence. Doesn't believe in rent vesting. Nah, sorry, I'll let you go.
Sorry about that. All right, so basically right now the property portfolio is sitting at 11. So we've got 11 properties, and we've got granny flat that's it's due for completion around March next year. Portfolio total value, 7.415 mil, thereabouts. Lending that we've got basically on that at the moment is about 4.4. Equity of about 3 mil. LVR 60%, and we're probably negative across the portfolio of about 20k. That's across all trusts, including SMSF. But yeah. So that's basically that's an overview of where we're at the moment.
Yeah, perfect. So across all entities, you're sitting around about 20k per annum net negative across 11 properties. 7.4 mil, 11 properties, 12 rental or a 12th rental about to pop on the market in a few months. 7.4 mil portfolio val, 4.4 mil worth of debt. Just a tick over $3 million worth of net equity position, and just sub a 60% LVR as well.
Yeah, my maths teacher's watching this. He's probably saying like, you can't count anyway. But I had Kaylee double check my numbers for anyone that's asking.
No, that's good, mate. I love it. It's impressive, man. And I think the cool thing is as well, like so many of the properties, you and I were talking about this off air prior to this call. You know, so many of these properties that you still hold in the portfolio have still got good growth left in the tank that we're still going to be holding for a lot of these properties, another 12, 24, 36 months to let them fully mature and go through the cycle. So it'd be interesting, even just like you sit here and you let that portfolio tick over for the next 3 years. You know, does this portfolio just sitting here right now tick up to $9-10 million, even this just now? Now, you and I both know we're both active investors, so we're not just going to let it sit here and do its thing. But it'd be very interesting to see where that ends up in the next few years as well.
Well, at my age, mate, you do think about whether or not that's a strategy moving forward sometimes. You know, you sit down and you have a look at the numbers and you go, wow, we've got this much money sitting here outside of super, and then when we turn 60, we've got that much. Is that what we want? You know, and no, it's not. And that's that generational piece. You know, being able to create something that's going to give us a comfortable retirement with some income. But with assets, it'll continue to grow.
Yeah, what I want to jump into is obviously we've just given a high level snapshot of the portfolio, which is super impressive. Congratulations for one on that. High level snapshot of the portfolio. But what I'd love to know is, you know, you started working with APS a little bit over 3 years ago. So it was mid-2022 from memory that you and I started working together.
Yeah, I'd say that'd be pretty close.
Yeah, perfect, man. Now, obviously, you bought your first property from memory 30 odd years ago, or 20 odd years, late 90s, I think you said. 98 was the first one.
Let me think about it. Yeah, it's probably pretty close, I'd say.
You said Alice.
Let me have a look at my sneak. 1998, you're right.
98, there you go.
Your memory hasn't folded, mate.
Hasn't diminished. So, mate, we're talking 27 years ago, right? What I want to do, man, is instead of talking about every individual deal, because obviously you bought and sold a lot sort of in your lifetime as well. What I'd love to know is probably, mate, not even high level, but like if we were to look over that journey of you know, we say 27 years ago that you did that one. So let's look at the last, you know, the 20 to 22 years before you and I started working together. When you bought the first one in 98, started working together in 22, make a 24 years worth of investment journey there, right? What I'd love to know is like, what do you think are the biggest lessons, learnings, takeaways that you had from that time frame of investing prior to working with us? Like you said, mate, you're a walking encyclopedia of all the things what not to do. Mate, let's pass on some of those things to, you know, to the next generation, whether it's, you know, your 20s, your 30s, your 50s, whatever it is. Like, what are the biggest lessons you took away from that time frame?
Look, probably. I guess I'll just start from the start, as you said.
And sorry, I'll say one thing. It's before you found the strategy that worked for you. You know, so if we rewind 3.5 years, and pretty much all you've got in your portfolio at the moment, barring one asset, 2 assets, sorry, I'll throw in there. One you've just bought recently, and then one you bought just before you started working with us.
Yep.
There's 9 deals in the middle, 10 rentals there. That's obviously a strategy that you found that has worked for yourself. So for the last 3.5 years, you have, you've been implementing and constantly implementing the strategy that has been working for you, right? Now you've got something that's working, you're sticking to that. And I love that because so many people deviate, and that's where they fuck it all up again. Like they do well out of a couple of deals. They go, oh, I'm going to go be a developer now. It's like, mate, you made your money in something, stick at it, right?
Yep.
And that's what I love. You stuck at it, you've kept moving forward in something that's working well for you. But then again, sorry to interrupt you before, but that 24 years prior to us working together, what are the biggest lessons, learnings, takeaways from that time of investing?
As you rightly said, mate, we are an encyclopedia, so it's hard to nail down all of the mistakes we made. But just
we'll say lessons learned rather than mistakes made.
Absolutely.
Because long as you learn from it, mate.
Look, we grew up in a time when, and I think I've said it before, parents encourage you to buy your first home, pay it off over 30 years. After you've done that, perhaps invested in something or saved that money so you've got something to retire with. I mean, it was a bit different for our parents. They didn't have a lot of superannuation. That really didn't kick off until I hit the workforce back in 85. But, Kaylee and I had that view. We met in Alice Springs back in 97, I think it was. I better not get that wrong. So we met in 97, and as I said earlier, we were great mates right from the
just hit it off straight away.
Actually, it's probably a story I need to throw in there.
Here we go. Here we go.
Trust me, this is probably marriage on the line stuff when I tell this one, and she watches it. So I'll get my young bloke to keep her away from the TV, I suppose.
Hit me with
Look, night I met my wife.
Yeah.
So I'm early 20s. I think I was the early 20s. We'll go with that. Actually, mid 20s I was. She was early 20s. I'm out with some mates, nightclub, all the rest of it in Alice Springs.
Is there a nightclub in Alice Springs?
Yeah.
Is it?
There was 2 or 3 back in the day, mate. Come on. But you went out to drink, not do other shit. Like you went out to drink and meet girls and all the rest of it, So anyway, I'm there with a mate of mine, and I look over the right shoulder, and there's a bit of a punch-up going on.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, between 2 chicks.
Okay.
I was trying to see what was going on. And, we looked around. First thing I seen was my wife.
Yeah.
She was one throwing the punch. So she'd had a run-in with one of the young Aboriginal girls down there at the time. And it was funny, I just looked at her and it was like, I've got to get to know this chick. And I did. So I've gone up. It was just...
So Kaylee knows how to blue.
She was in a punch up, and you got to know my wife, mate. She's like 4'4". There's nothing to her, She comes up to my chin.
Yeah.
But mate, full of energy. Won't take a backward step from anyone.
Yeah.
But I just thought I'd throw that in because I know I'm not going to hear the end of that. I don't know, mate. She'll probably cremate me instead of burying me or something, or vice versa, whatever I want at the end of the day after telling that story. But it was that to see that sort of pride in someone, and someone that won't take a step back. It's like total attraction to her, So great girl. So anyway, sorry,
that, mate.
back to it.
I fully thought that story was going somewhere completely different then, but anyway, mate, that's a funny. I was not expecting you to go down the route of she was punching on in the middle of a nightclub in Alice Springs, but mate, there we go.
She's the quietest, nicest woman you'll meet, but she won't take a backward step.
Yeah, she'll throw down if she needs to.
That's the sort of chick she is. And, mate, wouldn't have it any other way.
I love it, mate.
So,
I love it.
But anyway, so after that night, obviously, we ended up spending a lot of time together, and she was working in hospitality, and funny enough, she'd come up from down south as I had. Anyway, rents were incredibly high in Alice Springs back then, incredibly high. And we worked out that buying a unit between us, just going 50-50, there was no guarantee things were going to work out with us. But that's how comfortable we were with each other. We decided to buy this brand new unit.
Why were the rents so high in Alice?
Look, I didn't know a lot about data back then, Sam.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming there was a lot of work, a lot of industry, whether it was mining, whether I don't know what it was.
So a lot of people just come in, seasonally come in for work, and it was
exactly. But it was really high. It was brutal as, and we worked out that it was a lot cheaper to buy a place.
Okay.
And back then too, just I hate a lot of what I hear in the media. But one of the things that people don't recognise, I always talk about the baby boomers and what are we, Generation X or whatever we are, whatever it is. Anyway, they talk about them having all this wealth, hoarding all this wealth, and how easy it was. It was never easy back then. No. We were working a lot of hours to pay our bills. But where I was going with that, our first home buyer assistant was like bloody $800 or something.
Yeah.
Off our stamp duty. That was it. But all that aside, that was the first mistake we made.
Okay.
We probably should have just pooled our money. Mm-hmm. We should have rented and just kept pumping the money in the bank. But back then, education was hard to come by.
Yep.
As I said, it was reading the books off the shelf, Money Magazine. Paul Clitheroe was the god.
He was,
He was. And, all
He's
of those...
still around? Paul Clitheroe's still around?
I don't know. I haven't seen him for years. I know we come across him in a bloody a money thing or something somewhere one time. We'll
have to get him on the poddy, mate. If he's still around, I'll get him on the poddy,
I
reckon
that'd be go. That'd be the go.
I heard that, mate. I don't remember that name in a decade.
But, like all of that generation, they were all very conservative in their approach to everything, you know. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but what I am saying is there's better ways to do things. And I think the enablement of technology and your ability to research and do stuff these days makes things so much better. You can't just keep getting it right as many times as you get it right, Sam. Without knowing something and having that education and learning it. We didn't have that back then.
Yeah, I get you.
So that was the first mistake we made. We lived in that till we left Alice Springs, and then we rented it out.
Okay. Did you get a hectic yield on it at least when you rented it, when you left?
It would have been positive, not that I would have known. I wouldn't have known what an LVR, a yield, or anything else was back then. It was just like, we're paying.
What did you pay for it? Do you remember what you paid for it?
I think it was about 115.
Yeah, right. And what were you renting it for? Now I'm racking the brain.
Long time ago, mate.
Yeah.
In pounds and shillings or something.
In goats and chickens. Jimmy's era.
That's it.
All right, beautiful. All right, sweet. See,
maybe Jimmy was renting it.
Hey, maybe he probably was. Maybe
it could have been
was.
Jimmy.
He was the next derelict moving through. I'm not calling you that. That's what I was calling Jimmy. But anyway, moving through goats and chickens. We got something in that vicinity for rent, mate. So you've left Alice. You've rented it out. What's been the go after that?
So that was a key time in my life.
Okay.
We come from Sydney. Mm-hmm. And I'd been down to visit parents. Kaylee'd been down to visit her parents. And while we were there, my mum had been in for some tests and got diagnosed with cancer. I won't go too much into that, but needless to say, it wasn't good. And that sort of motivated us to head back closer to home.
Yep.
So, me working in government, I utilised that to land a job back in Sydney.
Yep.
And we went back to Sydney and obviously rented for a while. And we were there for quite some time after that. Mum passed away 5 years after she got sick, I think.
Okay.
And that was tough, obviously. But throughout that period, we were renting, and we got to a point where we thought we'd found the ideal location. Mm-hmm. And this is probably the crux of all our errors, is we would find a place that we thought we wanted to be forever.
Yep.
And it's like, let's buy the dream home, let's pay it off, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
In this case, and you'd be familiar with this one, Sammy, it's down in your haunt, Albion Park.
Yeah.
So
down just a little bit south of Wollongong.
Yep, absolutely. Just at the base of the Macquarie Pass we were.
Yeah,
they were just doing some.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so they were just doing some new subdivision releases.
Yeah.
So by then I'd read enough.
Mate, Macquarie Pass. I used to remember because sorry to cut you off there for a
No,
second.
you're right.
When I used to play soccer down in the Gong, and I was living in Mossvale for a while, and I'd whip up through Macquarie Pass at night. But it was my favourite ride heading up that mountain on the motorbike. Mate, that's got to be one of the greatest little trips I've rode for a motorbike rider, especially if there's no one on it. Has got to be Macquarie Pass.
You and me up the pass in the Ferrari, mate.
Oh yes. The funny thing is, obviously, I've never had any of the supercars through the valley because obviously you grew up Kangaroo Valley, all the rest of it as well. Mate, it's gonna be one of the dreams. Get one of the cars down there, go for a rip up Macquarie Pass.
I'm with you all the way, mate.
Go to Robert Pie shop, mate.
I'm sure you won't need the encouragement, but I'll give you some.
Mate, we'll make it happen.
I don't know, Jimmy can ride his push bike.
Yeah, Jimmy ride the pushy, mate. He's got a scooter. He's got a Vespa. I don't know if the Vespa would make it up Macquarie Pass, but we could race him.
Yeah, we could try.
Yeah.
Maybe attach a rope or something. Mate. He'll be right.
Skull dragging for me. She wouldn't have to cut that bit out. But anyway.
Sorry, Jimmy. I love you, mate.
Robert Pie shop.
Yeah, we did. We got off target. But so where I was going with it, I'd sort of educated myself probably just enough to know not to go into a house and land package deal or anything like that. So what we did, we went and found the block of land. We bought the block of land. Okay. That cost us about $105,000.
Yep.
We didn't have bugger all money. Like, I don't know how. We were a 5% deposit. Back then you could do 95 land.
Yeah.
So I didn't know where we were going to get the other money to
do the build,
throw towards the house for the build. But anyway, we did it anyway.
Yep.
And luckily enough, we got the vow back to be able to do the build. So
beautiful.
We bought the land, then we went and approached a builder.
Yep.
And we built the house we wanted.
Perfect.
And look, honestly, we were really happy with the build.
Yep.
It all turned out all right. And that's probably, out of all the deals that we've done over this time, the one that actually done all right.
That did all right?
Yeah, that's done really well. Like, we're all in for 240. I know that sounds,
bloody hell.
It sounds ridiculous. Brand new, 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom house.
Yeah. That'd be.
I think from memory it was like 650, maybe 800 size square metre block. But 250 all in, and and it was a nice place and a good quality place. It wasn't bottom of the barrel.
Yep.
When we sold it a couple of years later, 2 or 3 years later, we sold it, and we got a 4 in front of it.
Yeah, beautiful.
So we done all right.
Especially back then, because that was mid-2000s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would have been 2002-ish. We built that, I reckon.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So we'd come back. Sorry, I'll just refer to my notes. Correct. So it was 2002.
Yeah.
And then we sold it 2005.
Yeah.
And we very close to double what we put into it.
Yep.
So that was more money than we'd ever known.
100%.
It was
tax-free as
incredible,
well,
especially way back then. We're talking 23 years ago.
Yeah.
So first thing we did, we went out and we bought ourselves a 100 series. Not a new one.
How much was that?
Mate, that was massive at 30 grand.
Yeah, right.
So,
and
we went the petrol because the diesel was $5 grand dearer.
Yeah.
But it was a few years old when we bought it.
Okay.
We didn't go in new. We were sensible. And then the other thing we did, because we're really mindful of money, we went and bought a camper trailer.
Okay.
And that was one that was made up in Queensland, and it was a great little unit. That served us well with the kids for 15, 16 years.
Yeah, right. Bloody hell.
They were our holidays. That's how we lived. That's how we did things, you know. And that, it takes me back to, what you hear people talking about these days, and the wah-wah about, I can't do this, I can't do that, but I can go and stay on Hamilton Island, or I can go and do all this, that's how we enjoyed it. But you know what? That lifestyle, mate, it's second to none. That's living out there, You're getting out into the wild, you're teaching your kids, you're letting them play in the dirt, It's not about the PlayStations and all the rest of it sitting in the holiday units. So, but yeah, both those items I consider were a good purchase at the time.
It's funny you bring that up for 1 second there. It's funny you bring that up because you and I just had a laugh a second ago because this is pre jumping on air because we were talking about. So obviously for one, I grew up on a farm, right? So talking about playing in the dirt, that was literally my life. But it was funny because my parents had a holiday place. There's a little shack. There's the last fibro shack that's left down in Basin View. Yep. And we were talking about the South Coast. And I was like, Jarvis Bay. You're like, yeah. And I was like, well, St. George's Bay, my parents. And you're like, we used to holiday at Basin View, and I was like, my parents literally had a place at Basin View. Literally the last beach shack that's left there.
Yeah.
Or little shack on the lake, little fibro shack on the lake. And it's funny, man, because you bring that up, and like we weren't allowed to take the PlayStation down the coast.
Yep.
So back home, if we wanted to play PlayStation, however many hours we wanted to play, we had to play outside, double that first. So if I wanted to play an hour on the PlayStation, I had to go kick the ball around for 2 hours first before I could play an hour on the PlayStation, right? And so like, for one, it gets you out of the house doing other stuff first, and then have a little bit of a reward. But then when we used to go down the coast for holidays, they never used to take the PlayStation. They'd make us leave it at home. And we go down there, and then we had kayaks. I had this tiny little tinny. I got the old boy bought me a tinny. Was a little like 5 horsepower on it. Go around, go fishing and stuff. And mate, that was the holidays. And my mates would come down from school, and we'd load the little tinny up with all this kit. The thing would literally sink, and we'd drive over to the other side of the base. Remember when everyone used to camp on the other side?
Yep.
And we drive the tinny over there.
Yeah, nice.
And or on one of the islands or something, and you just pull up and thinking back, it's actually pretty crazy. Your parents let you do it, but it was such a good upbringing. I loved it.
But you survived because you grew up in it.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? It was there. And that Basin View, it's one of the first memories I have of my dad teaching me how to fish.
Yeah, me too.
From memory, and I've got a really vague memory of it, but I think we were down the boat ramp, you know, and I remember him tying on like, bubble floats and stuff and teaching me how to do all this stuff. And back then, there was no swivels and things like that, you know. He was breaking the old matchstick off after he lit his cigarette, and he's tying that in there to stop the float from running or the sinker from running. But yeah, I got a lot of fond memories. You know,
we had the little split sinkers. You know, the little split sinkers. You had the little float on it. You put the split sinker on either side of it. You used to love float fishing down there. You throw the bread out as burley and a little bit of dough on it. Mate, that was literally that was my childhood, man.
Getting a mullet.
Yeah, mate, and then the rod would go crazy. I used to love it. The boys would come down. It was unreal.
Yeah, no, we had it all. I couldn't survive down there now, mate. I couldn't even go swimming down there. I'd do too cold.
Too cold?
Yeah. And you'll see, as I run through.
Yeah, of course, buddy. You live in 40 degrees there.
Mate, you'll see the one consistency in this is every time we buy a house, it's further north.
Mate, I love it.
Yeah. So, but anyway, that brought us on to the next purchase, which was where we used the remainder of that money we'd made out of that property. And another one you'd be familiar with, we bought 100 acres in a place called Marulan.
Yeah.
Now, Marulan's about halfway between, we'll call it Mittagong and Goulburn.
Goulburn, yeah.
Yeah.
So for anyone who doesn't know, Mittagong, Goulburn, halfway between Canberra and Sydney. Kind of where Kaylee and I grew up, which is the Southern Highlands, to the southern end of the Highlands, but big bush, big acreages.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what it was. Mate. You know, it was moonscape stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, there was, it was
just... Explain that to anyone who doesn't know what that means. Like me.
So, rocks, rough country. You know, you were talking about a property you were looking at previously back there, obviously prior to becoming Sammy Gordon. Someone warned you about the snake country.
Yeah,
and,
Canyon Lee. I almost bought 100 acres there myself.
Yeah, just
good 10 years
rough
ago.
Country, mate. You know, and back then even more. You know, Marulan was nothing. You know? It was really rough stuff. But we had this vision. You know, I was going to go and work at the Darwin Goulburn and basically we were going to build this farmhouse and we were going to run cattle, we were going to do this, you know. 100 acres of timber that we were going to have to clear, you know. It's like, what were you thinking?
It was rough country, man. Yeah. I remember I went and walked a few blocks and I came very close to buying a couple back then, and it's genuinely rough country. Rough country. And that was the thing that turned me off, like you said there just then. It was when I was just randomly at the vet, and the vet was bringing up, mate, just make sure you got like a good little fridge supply there, or whatever you can plug a fridge in, whether you got whatever, so you can put the anti-venom in there. I was like, what do you mean? And he goes, well, mate, the amount of brown snakes are out there, you won't be able to get back into town in time before your fucking dog dies. So
sounds about right.
I'm not buying that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, that was what turned me off it.
Well, we bought it.
Mate, mine might not be if I bloody bought that thing, if I hadn't had that vet experience.
I don't think it would have been,
if I'd gone out there, mate, I would have just gone full nomad styles and lived out there on the farm.
We bought that and we kept it for a couple of years before we realised that we were just dumb.
Yeah, right.
And in the end, I think we done 15K. We sold it for 15K less than what we bought it.
Yep.
And plus all the costs in and out and everything else. Yep. So that hurt us, you know, like after making a couple of 100K off the other one, by the time we'd bought the Land Cruiser and we bought the camper trailer and then lost a bit of money on that property, it's like, where'd that money go?
Yeah.
Kaylee. So
can I ask you something real quick? Why you made that amount of money on Albion Park? Like, what were you guys making as a salary at the time? Do you remember roughly?
So Kaylee, it wasn't a huge amount. Like I'd envisaged that I would have maybe been making 60, 70 grand.
Yeah.
And Kaylee was probably a bit less.
Yeah.
So I used to do a fair bit.
Sorry, mate. Cut you off. Right. Like, let's say combined, you're doing 100 grand a year ish, right? Yep. Going back to mid 2000s. Did it not click in your mind that you just made 200 grand on a buy and build in Albion Park? Maybe do it again.
It did. We did think about it, but why
didn't you?
I don't know, mate. We were a little bit fixated on having the family home, you know. We're going to have kids. We want them to grow up in the family home.
So you were thinking farm. That's what Maroon was for you.
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
Makes sense.
You know, and it's almost consistent throughout what we're saying, you know, because everywhere we land, it's the forever place.
Yeah.
You know? Not thinking that I'd be moving around for my career and all that sort of stuff, you know. So needless to say, I'm not a quick learner. But, you know, look, at the end of the day, we try not to use the word regret.
Yeah.
You know, we've made some bad calls over the time, but at the end of the day, we've spent some really good time with our kids, and we've always been together as a family. You know, and we love the fact that the kids had their own bedrooms in the houses we lived in. The house we got out here in Darwin. You know, one wall's green, one's pink, and one's blue, because when we walked in, we said, "Pick your colour." You know, and mate, there's some weird colours.
So which one was yours?
The pink.
I love it.
So, and you can imagine young kids having the opportunity just to throw whatever on the wall, you know. So, it's some really funny things. But, mate, they're memories, you know what I mean? It's not a, what do you call it, display home, you know. It's a home that's lived in and loved, for sure. and that. So, the only thing I would say is I wished I'd have clicked a lot sooner, and we'd have been able to move forward. But otherwise, you know, every decision we made at the time, we thought we were making the right decision.
Yep. I hear, man.
Yep.
Mate, to rip through the final couple ones before we jump into the journey, why don't you talk me through? Because I know I've obviously got another house or two here that's yours personally.
Yep.
And then obviously we ripped through a couple of deals, or a deal you did before us from a buyer's agency side as well. Yep. We ripped through those, mate. What do we sort of got left here?
All right, so we moved around a little bit with my career.
Yep.
So I went up to mid-north coast in New South Wales. Yep. We built a house on 1 acre block of land up there.
Yep.
And that one done all right. We made a little bit on that, not a huge amount.
Yep.
But
where
again,
was that on mid-north coast?
That was a place called Golmerad, which is just inland from Yamba.
Yamba, okay. Sweet.
Yeah, so that was halfway between Yamba and Kempsey.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, makes sense.
Yeah. I get the two confused. We went to Grafton, so sorry, it's Grafton. Well, it's halfway between Yamba and Grafton.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I get that confused.
No stress.
So the next move we went was up to Southwest Rocks.
Yep.
Again, so in 2015, we took the kids around Australia. But before we left, so I'd done that on half pay leave. I had a lot of annual leave and stuff that we could use. And we took the year off and we took the kids around Australia. Before we left, because we were renting at that time, we bought a house in Southwest Rocks.
Okay.
And the idea was that we'd come back and we'd move into that place, beautiful home. Unfortunately, when we went around Australia, we landed in Darwin and decided Darwin was where it's got to be.
Okay.
Yeah. So we ended up here.
What kept you here?
What kept us here?
Yeah. What made you stay?
Look, I think the lifestyle up here is great.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of advantage to being down south or over east, you know, wherever you come from, where you've got, you know, your shopping centres. You can jump on the highway over east and go 2 hours either direction. You're going to come across somewhere lovely to stay.
Yeah.
You know, something to do on a weekend. Here, you've got to drive 1,000 k's south just so you can turn left to go east. You know, it's you know. Or similarly, if you want to go west, you are in the middle of nowhere, but there's something about the territory that it gets in your blood.
Yeah.
You know, and like I know I've said, you know, we're going to leave the territory, and and we will, because I think there's going to be more comforts that we want
Yep.
that Eastern Australia can provide us. But Territory's always going to have a very special place in our heart.
Yeah.
You know, and like I say, mate, it just gets in your blood. You know,
Mate, it's a funny thing that you bring up, because like there was property managers and sales agents I was chatting with yesterday and the day before when we were here, and man, they were like, I had a PM say to us like that she came up with a husband who had a 5-year plan. He's in the military, 5-year plan of coming up here, and it's been 15 years. Yep. And she's loved it, and they'll never leave. They literally love it.
Yep.
And then made other sales agents that came from Perth, from Brizzy, from others, from Sydney, from Melbourne and stuff, and they come, and whether it's a posting for something, say in defence, and then that wraps up, and then they stay here because they love the lifestyle, or some of them came for, like one of the partners was in mining or something, or literally they came up because family was here and maybe they left and then came back, whatever it was. But it's crazy, man. Like literally, they love it. Like producer Kel and I was sitting here last night having a chat about it, and just like everyone you speak to that actually lives here, mate, they love it. Whereas when you're in so often you're in Sydney or in Melbourne, everyone's like, oh, I want to go here or move there or move there, whatever. You're talking to everyone up here, mate, and they literally love living here. It's weird, you know what I mean?
There's a super high level of pride in Territorians.
Yeah.
You know, and yes, the Territory is not advanced as a lot of the other states are, but there's a reason for that.
I was going to say, but is that why people love it as well?
Correct.
Because it's fucking rugged.
And that's the biggest frustration for a lot of people that live in the Territory, is these people that move up from Mordorf or New South Wales. You know, they come up here and they want to turn it into that.
Yeah,
you know? It's not what it is. You know, like this is a territory.
Yeah.
People live up here and live this way for a reason.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a great place.
Yeah.
And, you know, that pride and that commitment to the Territory runs strong through the blood of everyone that lives up here generally.
I love it, man. I love it because like literally, like when I move up to, now I was in the GC, and GC is not really considered an overly like crazy busy place. But for me, I'm originally from the bush. So like for me, it can get a bit hectic.
Yeah,
and I'm like, sometimes I need to get out, right?
Yeah.
So I bought a farm a little bit over an hour out past Murwillumbah. It's got 50 acres out there. So like if I get a bit hectic, a bit stressed, I'm like, bang, I'm going to go for a long weekend out there, take the motorbikes out, just chill out on the farm.
You got the T-bones walking around in the paddocks?
Yeah, 100%, mate. They're all there.
Yeah, nice.
But it's
Wagyu?
Yeah. I don't massage them, the Japanese, they massage them with the gloves on.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's a funny thing. I feel you. And especially if people are from here, they get it, right? And then you see people move up, and once they become like entrenched in that sort of thing, it's the same as me when I need to get those little bit of breakaways, because that's what I'm used to. So I can imagine if you grew up here and were used to it, and you're used to the fishing and the hunting and the boating, and it was always being out and about and doing all these sorts of things, that moving to somewhere like that would almost be confronting because it's so different.
Yeah,
but then you have people move here and then they love it for these reasons. Like yourself, mate, originally from Sydney. Or sorry, you're originally from Alice, but you're originally from the Campbelltown.
I grew up in Campbelltown.
Yeah, Campbelltown and the Highlands for Kaylee, but then you met in Alice and then went back down south.
Yeah, correct. And then we lived in different places around the Southern Highlands. So cold country either way you look at it.
Yeah,
even as a young bloke growing up, my dad was an Ambo. Yeah. And we moved, all over the state, in little remote country towns and all that sort of stuff. But we were in cold country like Cootamundra.
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to ride my bike to school, mate. It rained the day before, I'd ride my bike to school, and you go through a puddle of water and you go straight over the top of it. Just frozen solid, It's like get to work, get to school, peel the fingers off the handlebars.
You know what's funny that we're laughing about this too? It's about 30 degrees here today, and all of us keep looking over our shoulder because there is a enormous storm heading towards us. Look at the wall of rain that you can see heading towards us right now from Palmerston direction. I think Kel's about to get a couple of photos of this thing moving towards us, but it's absolutely insanity. We're hearing this thunder like crackling off as we're here, rumbling towards us. But man, it's a different place, eh? I don't know, man. I've enjoyed being here.
Mate, it's absolutely beautiful. And being here in the wet, most people are scared to come up here in the wet.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of humidity.
Yeah, for sure.
You see some of the best the Territory's got to offer in the wet season.
Why is that? What do you see?
Mate, your torrential rains, that wet season.
We're about to cop that in a second.
What's that?
We're about to cop that in a second.
Yeah. The lightning walking up through the valleys and everything else, that's always special, the electrical storms.
That's cool.
You get all that. But, the place comes to life. A lot of the waterfalls and stuff down in the national parks, your Cakadoos and your Litchfield and all that, they don't really start to work as, to capacity until that rain comes in.
Yeah, that's cool.
And you're just seeing the territory lush green, not dry.
Yep.
Middle of the dry season, you're looking at brown, or
Yeah.
red dirt.
Yeah.
In the wet season, she turns green. She's spectacular, But
we were literally talking about it, like when we were driving around when we got in here on Sunday, and then the fact that everywhere is so lush and green, like it's hectic. You know what I mean? Like it's mad. It's cool. To see.
I think Darwin, like we're a little way from Darwin now, but I think Darwin had a fair bit of early rain this year.
Yep.
We've only just started getting a bit of rain at home, but so I can imagine it greens up quick when it happens. Mate, nature knows, and it's just bang overnight.
It's on.
Yep,
It's on.
Absolutely.
It's on. Mate, I love it, man. I love it. We've chopped through pretty much everything to do with personal decisions you guys have made.
Yep.
Now we're moving forward into the investment decisions and investment game you started to play. Now, like you said, you alluded to a little bit earlier in the podcast. Obviously, you and I have chatted about this plenty of times.
Yep.
You worked with a couple of BAs before you started working with us.
Yes.
Let's get to that part of the journey, man. Because I'd love to dissect and start to jump into the actual investment side of what you've done.
Yep.
And obviously that started before us, man. So I'd love to sort of dissect and unpack that before we run into our journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I said earlier, it was after things went a little bit wrong with one of my jobs that made us start thinking about our position and what we needed to do. And it was quite evident geographically I couldn't go and look at properties all over the country to buy a property.
Yep.
So it was at that point I didn't know a lot about buyers agents. I knew they existed.
Yep.
So I started doing a bit of research and eventually reading a bit of stuff, a little bit of YouTube. We decided to start ringing around.
Yeah.
So pick the first buyer's agent we went with.
Okay. First one you interviewed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had a chat to him, and I didn't mind what he had to say. So we decided we'd go with him and give him a run.
Yep.
Essentially, what happened after that, I really wasn't happy or comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
So he sourced the property in a location that I probably couldn't fault the location too much, even now looking back on it. But the house he presented had, after the building and pest, it had wood rot in the roof and a heap of other stuff that, even talking to the building pest guy, he really couldn't give me any sureties on anything.
Yep.
And when I went back to this guy, he wanted to argue the toss,
Well, he wanted to keep pushing through with it.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, right, okay.
And I had no bar of that.
Yeah.
It was like, no. So we moved on from that. And by this stage, we've already paid an engagement fee, obviously. So we pushed on. He came up with another property.
Yeah.
And we decided to move forward with that. And then they lost the deal.
Yeah.
So that I was getting frustrated by that stage because Brisbane was pumping at this point in time.
Yeah.
You were seeing a lot in the media about different things going on, and my approach was get me in Brisbane, into Brisbane. No, there's better markets.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, around that same time, I was starting to sort of think about strategic investing.
Yeah.
Very, very, very light on, and I started talking to him. I said, all right, so when we get this next property,
Yep.
where do we go to?
Yep.
Don't worry about
Nothing.
that.
Nothing?
No. Yeah. We'll get this one. Your borrowing capacity is not going to stretch very far.
Yep.
So you're going to have to get this one, then you're going to have to move on. So anyway, Kaylee and I had a conversation, and even though we'd put a fair bit of money down on and banked on this guy, we walked away.
How much was it? How much was the engagement?
I think it was about 4K.
Okay.
So we engaged up for 4K, and that was non-returnable.
Yep.
So we walked away, and because by then, as I said, I was already thinking about Brisbane. So we went into and researched Brisbane buyers agents.
Yep.
And we ended up hooking up with one of the popular Brisbane-based teams up there,
Mm-hmm.
and they end up their view was buy blue chip. Anything dearer is going to go up so much quicker than anything cheaper.
Yep.
we listened to them. I guess they were telling us what we wanted to hear, you know, and we did. They ended up putting us into a middle ring suburb at that time.
Yep.
And to be fair, the property's gone up, increased in value, but it's in Brisbane, so I don't know what wouldn't have gone up in Brisbane since then.
Yeah.
But it's done reasonably well. We did offload it, as you know.
When did you? So when did you buy that?
So we bought the one in Brisbane in 2022.
22, okay.
2022 was a really busy year for us. A lot happened back then.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we realised quickly, even though between Kaylee and I we were on reasonably good money, doing a lot of hours for it.
If you don't mind me asking, what do you consider reasonably good money? Because people always they love to know in the investor episodes, especially with the journey you're about to go through. If you don't mind sort of saying what you were on at the time.
So we had a couple of beneficial things here, but I was earning, I reckon back then about 130K.
Okay.
Okay. Previous jobs I was able to do a fair bit of overtime, but back then in 22 here I wasn't doing a lot of overtime. However, living in a remote location, we were lucky we weren't paying rent.
Yep. Okay.
That was government provided accommodation. So that helped us along. Kaylee was on, I think she kicked off on about 55, 60 grand a year.
Yep.
So weren't on massive amounts of money.
So this is the thing, because you said quite good money, and I'm not to take anything away from this as well, but most people, especially let's say people in Sydney or Melbourne, they hear quite good money. They're probably thinking 300-400 grand a year.
Yeah,
the reason I bring this up is because combined sub $200,000 is combined average household income these days. 90 to 100 grand a person,
Absolutely.
which is what you guys were combined. Just under 200K. So very much the average Australian household income these days as well. So it's not like it's not like this thing's out of the equation for the average person as well.
We're both working for government, mate. That should tell you a story straight up. None of us are CEOs or anything like that. We're both workers.
Yep.
Now this property they bought for us, we were 30K negative, and interest rates hadn't finished going up at that point.
Yeah, right.
So that was going to get pretty ugly in the end.
Yep.
And it wasn't that we were worried we couldn't pay for it. We'd done our numbers, even going up to where they did, we probably could have, but there wouldn't have been any more investing coming our way,
Yep.
So we eventually, well, to be quite honest, around the time I got that, and I had a conversation with you about it earlier where I spoke about I didn't like the attitude of one of the people.
Yes.
Very pushy and quite aggressive when we were sort of asking for time to think about something.
Yep.
This was about a property that's been sourced that they put it to us and then they were negotiating for us. Yep. They weren't ringing us saying,
deal's closed.
Here's this deal. This is where it's going to be at, yes or no.
Yep.
But anyway, I'd asked for a bit of time, do a bit of due diligence.
Yeah.
Try that again. Due diligence. And she got quite upset. I don't know if she knew I could hear on the other end of the phone or not, but so I was talking to the partner, and it really left a dirty taste in my mouth straight up. Even though we went forward with the deal because we wanted to get into Brizzy, so there's probably a bit of FOMO there, I guess it's fair to say.
Yeah.
We went ahead with that. It was during that period I was watching SPI.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and this little shit turned up on there talking about having 36 properties, and it's like. Like seriously, and you're talking about kicking off on 60, 70 grand a year. I did resonate with you, like the fact that you were from where we were from, and I really, I don't know, there was just something about you, mate. Like as I said earlier, you're so genuine, and you had done it. That was a big thing. You had done it. Yep. There's no bullshit involved here. It's like you can't do that by mistake.
Yeah.
You can buy 1, 2, maybe even 3 properties by mistake.
Fluke your way through it, yeah.
But you can't buy 30 plus properties by mistake.
Yeah.
You're doing something right. You know something I don't know.
Yeah.
And I think I said to you earlier, I described, I'd read all the books when I was younger, and I knew what I was doing was right. And I seen what you were doing, and in theory, what you were doing was all wrong.
Yeah.
You were presenting me with these houses that I'm sort of looking at going, mate, that's as ugly as hell. Who's going to want to buy that? Who's going to want to live in it, But my theory to the world was what I knew was right was obviously not. What you knew was obviously right, because you were doing so well. And Kaylee and I decided to put our trust in you from that point. And that's how we ended up going from that property in Brizzy, Middle Ring Brizzy, and working with yourself.
Yep, I love it, mate. Talk me through that. Talk me through these ugly properties that you wouldn't take out on a date. Talk me through them, mate.
Well,
let's rip through.
Well, I'll just quickly run over. I have got one property out here in Darwin that I mentioned earlier. We bought that back in 2017 when we moved back up to the territory.
Yep.
We still hold that today. That one we've used for a bit of equity.
Yep.
But it's still ticking there, and we'll talk about that one a little bit more down the track.
Yeah, for sure.
So the first one that come in, got a phone call from yourself, basically Perth. Now, I was probably lucky, late Perth, pundits were talking about Perth.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't a super secret. So
when was this? It was in 22.
Yeah.
The market didn't start kicking until late 21, so we're probably 12 months into when it started coming in.
Yeah, 14th of November 22, we went under contract on that one.
Yep.
So you guys contacted us and offered us this property. I showed Kaylee and she went into meltdown. She said, "What have they done? Gone out to find us the ugliest property in Perth?" Like, seriously, this thing was as ugly as a hatful of arseholes, mate. It was like, seriously, what are we doing with this?
Cut from the same cloth as my old boy.
It had some benefits, mate.
Yeah.
All right. The previous owner had already done a lot of the work to start subdividing this property.
Yes.
And you probably remember it for that reason. Sam.
For sure.
And it was custom made for a granny.
Yeah.
You know, and based on our position at the time, because we still owned the Brizzy property, which was costing us $30,000 a year.
30 grand a year, yeah, I remember.
We were looking at some cash flow deals just to try to prop up that cash flow to be able to enable us to keep moving.
Yeah.
With the hope down the track selling that Brizzy property at not too big a loss.
Yeah.
So, look, ultimately we looked at it and we did question it, have no fear. You had a guy working for you at the time by the name of Ibrahim. I've dealt with Ibrahims in Sydney for years, you know, my job. Mate, you know, like, who's trusting you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, what's going on here? You know, so funny enough, I had...
Lots of love to Jimmy.
Oh, mate, you know,
Ibrahim.
I had the link up with Jimmy. He done my disco call, and mate, I love him.
Yeah.
You know, like, you could not get a more decent guy.
Yeah.
You know, he really is. He knows his shit. I know the loyalty he showed you, and he's stuck to you like glue, and I rate that exceedingly highly.
sure.
You know, so he's a great bloke. So good on you, Jimmy. It's all just bullshit, mate. Anyway.
Just mucking around.
Yeah, just mucking around, mate.
So you've bought the ugly as a hatful place.
So we spoke about it, and we were committed to you guys, mate. And as much as we sat there and I tried to do all this stuff that I know, which was very little, we decided to put our trust in you.
Yeah.
You know, and we just went, you know what, sign the contract, and we did. Best move we ever made.
Yeah.
You know, honestly, like that one, I don't know if you want me to talk about its whereabouts now, or we'll hold on to that later.
I actually do, because I think what's interesting to talk about with this as well is like the 20-month turnaround from purchase to sale, because obviously this was an asset that we were the plan was to hold this thing long term, was to build on it.
Yep.
There's a few different changes we had, you know, personally and in the portfolio and what you wanted to do that made us exit at a certain period of time, and just shows that it doesn't matter how ugly something is or how hot something is. In all reality, the uglier it is, you and I were having a laugh about this off air. A lot of the time, you can actually make a lot more money on those deals than these beautiful blue chips, which we're going to go case in point here.
Yep.
Let's go head to head with the Brizzy blue chip versus this thing.
Absolutely.
But let's talk about the ugly as a hatful. Like, where did this thing land up?
All right, so we purchased this one 361. I think we got that one for.
Yep.
It was 682 square metre block.
Yep.
3 and 1. As I said, it was already sort of ready for subdivision, and it was renting at the time for where were we? $310 a week.
Yep.
That was a hangover. That was rented. It was under lease. We still had about 6 months on the lease that we had to carry it through, and it's like, So
Yeah.
on purchase, that wasn't a real flash yield. But 6 months later,
Yeah.
mate, 6 months later, we renewed the lease at $490.
Yeah, beautiful.
You know, so straight away,
So 360 to 490, like 360 purchase to 490 rent.
Yep.
That's massive.
Absolutely. It was straight into like a 7% yield or
Yep.
something. You know, and then by the time we sold it,
Yeah.
and this is when we started the debate, we were actually going to jump, it was going to go to, I think we were going to advertise at $600 a week rent then.
Yep.
And from memory, because I kept tracking it after we sold it, the guy that owned it ended up getting a $580 a week, I think.
Yep.
So that yield on purchase just, you know, phenomenal. And then if you had to throw in a granny on top of that and all the rest of it, you know,
insane.
10+% yield, I'd
Yeah.
say.
But so you purchased it for 360.
Yep.
You held it for 20 months.
Yep.
What did you sell it for after 20 months?
361?
361 purchase.
Yeah, so we sold it. We got 700,000 for it. That was a bit of a funny sale. That one I spoke to you about it earlier.
Yeah.
So technically, we look at it as we got 680.
It was 680. Yeah.
Yeah, and the reason I say that, just so to clarify it, something I'd never seen before. The agent rang me and he says to me, "I've got some people here happy to buy this at 680.
Yep.
But they're going to pay you 700." What's going on there, mate? Something's not right,
There's a fugazi here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, I sort of went into it a bit with them, and bottom line was we had to pay their buyer's agent fee.
So it's a 680K sale, but they contracted at 700, and then
I had to pay that.
Yeah,
so straight on to Nick.
Yeah.
Nick, what the hell?
Yeah.
What's
Nick
this going to
being
do to
accountant.
us?
Yeah.
And legend as he always is, mate, got back to us and he said, no, it's all covered.
Yep.
So we went ahead with it.
Yep.
That freed up so much capital for us to be able to move forward.
Yep.
It was incredible, and that's what it was about. So we sold in. It was, as you said, it was 20 months later, which was late 2024.
Yep.
I think Perth was it was starting to suppress a little bit at that time.
Yep.
It was slowing down.
It was having its little.
I spoke to you. You'd already said to me, mate, that's going to have another run early next year.
Yep.
You were talking, maybe 15, 20%.
Yep.
But we decided the benefits to the sale were going to outweigh what we were possibly giving up on that.
Yep.
So, yeah.
And to recap on that, the reason for it was you needed the cash back out of it and you needed the debt position back and reposition the debt somewhere else to be able to keep moving forward. So we could have held it and continued to hold it, and we would have made, like you said, probably 15 to 20% this year. Perth did around about 20% again this year.
Absolutely.
Especially in those areas out there. But for what we needed that in the portfolio for, what we needed out of that deal from the portfolio, and you look at what we've done in the 12 months since then as well with getting that cash and that debt back out.
Yep.
We've obviously multiplied it in a significant way elsewhere.
Absolutely.
And so it was a necessary step to clip. But if you look at it, man, like you've got this ugly duckling, you've paid $361 for it, you've sold it for $680, right? So it's a $300,000 gain, minus cost, but $300,000 gain in 20 months from a property that Kaylee went into a bit of a meltdown seeing because it was that ugly.
Correct.
20 months, mate, not even 2 years. Talk to me about the numbers on the Brizzy one, because obviously you sold the Brizzy one as well. So, mate, on that, just as comparison, what you're saying, so you bought that similar sort of time. So you bought that in 2022.
Yep, correct.
What did you pay? $840, I think you said.
Yeah, we paid $840, and we sold it 2 years later for $923.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah, and just for comparison, we were getting $540 a week rent on that.
Yeah, right.
So you can.
So that's why that was costing you $30,000 a year to hold.
That's it.
It was costing you $30,000 a year to hold. You obviously had your BA fees, your stamps, everything on the way in and out of as well, which you would have had on the other one too. But on these blue chip assets, same time frame, you're talking 80K, not even 80, just under 80K. It was gain minus all the costs. So you probably plus $30,000 a year. It was costing you to hold it as well.
Yep.
So you maybe netted a little bit, maybe.
Nah, really. The accountant tells me we lost 70K. So that'll benefit from the Gosnell sale, or that'll benefit from the loss. If nothing else, we'll carry that loss forward into that gain.
Which I think is super interesting to sort of unpack, because like during that time frame, like Brisbane still grew. Like you saw, there was still a growth run that was sort of there. But like you look at the other side of it, of timing a different market more correctly, buying it for a better price. Like you said, that one hadn't even been negotiated on, so it was on market. They were walking you up. Yeah, they didn't even have a negotiator when they brought it to you. You've bought in, what sounds like pretty close to the top end of town at the time as well. Yep. Same hold period versus, this one over in WA, ugly duckling, not a blue chip area, and yet made $300,000 in the same time frame versus, let's call it 60, 70, 80 grand, whatever it was. But that thing was costing you 30 grand a year to hold.
Correct.
So 30 grand a year to hold over those 2 years, you actually did lose money. Because you think about it, BA fee plus stamp duties, you'd be in at around about 50K, maybe more combined, maybe 60K combined, plus 30K per annum net loss from a cash flow. So all of a sudden we're in at 120K loss. So even though it looks like on paper, 80K, well, it's actually 80K up. You're actually 120K down just in that scenario. And there's obviously other things that the accountants obviously worked out that you've run through as a loss there as well. So
pretty brutal.
It's funny when you work that out. Well, not funny, but it's like you said, mate, it's brutal when you work it out and you realize the difference versus this deal in Gosnells, like you're saying there, that's taking care of itself when it released after 6 months. For one, bought it in below market at the time. You were positive. You like you said, 77% yield on it when you bought as well on the release. So it's taking care of it. So it's washing its face on the way through, and then obviously 300K sale. And obviously you had the same cost on the way out of a stamp duty BA fee on the way out as well. The thing I forgot to mention in the sale of the other one too was the sales agent cost. So hence where you get to 70K loss during that thing, not even including the negative cash flow loss of another 60K. So it all makes sense when you put it together there too, versus the 300K sale. Or yes, you have your BA fee, your stamps, but your stamps are significantly lower and your sales cost is significantly lower because it's a lower purchase price as well. So you're probably netting out, say, 250K versus a 120K.
40K stamp or something.
On the Brizzy one.
Yeah.
Crazy, man. You know what I mean? So it's crazy when you actually run those things and people are trying to talk about it as if it just doesn't make sense, man. When you literally work out the numbers, exact same time frame. You know what I mean?
I'll tell you a scary thing, Sam, and this is where people can come unstuck.
Yeah.
If I held that property today, so if I had have just been satisfied with that purchase and held it, I'd be sitting there today going, I've won. I would think I've won because we paid $840 for it. It's probably 1.15 to 1.2 today. Yeah. And I'd be sitting there going, we're made 400 or 500K. How good are we? Not start throwing, that'd be another 3 years on top of that. So that's 30 grand a year, probably more than that because interest rates went a lot higher. Yeah. So
that's very true actually.
You add another 3 years of that 30, 40, 50,000K negative, that $300,000-400,000 it ain't looking so good anymore.
No, I'm with you, man.
But you'd be sitting there thinking you've done a good job.
Yeah. I feel there's the thing, mate. People don't factor the whole picture into the equation, And I think when you do, and you understand the opportunity cost as well, I think that's where the real difference sort of comes into it too, man. So that makes sense, man. I appreciate you sort of sharing, bluntly the numbers as well across the board in comparison. But mate, moving on from that as well, I know we've got a lot of properties to rip through. We're about an hour and a half in, man. So there's a few things I want to wrap with when we get through this as well. But mate, let's run through the remaining deals you've bought with APS through the journey as well, mate. Let's just sort of rip through them and just sort of give the people the numbers as we go through.
Okay, yeah. So basically, next one we picked up was regional Queensland. Yep. So this was another cash flow deal. We picked this one up. It was fairly expensive at $260,000.
Oh, mate.
And you know what? We had a small 1,012 square metre block that come with that.
1,000 square metre block house at $260K.
Yep, absolutely.
I love it.
Yeah. Now this one had reno potential. Yep. And granny flat.
Okay.
And we've actually acted on that. We've since renovated it. Yep. So it was a 2-and-1. Yep. We've renovated it. It's now 4-and-2.
Okay. So you're saying from a 2-and-1 to a 4-bed, 2-bath?
Correct.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So we've done that, and I can't say more about Adriana than what a fantastic lady, mate.
Mate, you sent me good feedback on her with that renovation, man. I appreciate that.
Absolutely, mate. She's a legend. You know, she just handles shit. You know, you don't have to sit there worrying about it. You just go, hey, I've just received this phone call. Yeah. What do we do? Don't worry about it, Mark. I'll sort it.
So talk to me then. You've paid $260. It was a 2-bed, 1-bath. We've renovated it into a 4-bed, 2-bath. Yep. What did you spend on the renovation?
$90K.
$90K.
Which was a fair bit above what we were going to start at.
But that also fully renovated the other bathroom, a new bathroom, and then obviously...
Full reno, mate.
Full reno.
So we started off with a budget of 50. It was my decision to go higher. Yep. It wasn't an APS thing. It was essentially like we were going to spend $50,000 and we were going to have this 4-bedroom, 1-bathroom house. And it didn't make sense to me. I thought 4 bedrooms, you want 2, and that's got to be in demand because you don't see a lot of them in that location. So we put the extra money in and we put a full extra bathroom in there.
Yep.
We full reno, top to bottom. It was good. So
sweet.
happy with the outcome.
Yep.
The uplift wasn't as good as what I'd hoped it to be.
Valuations at the time in that location kept coming in short. So we had a period of time there. There was a solid 6 to 12 months almost even. Vals just kept coming in short.
And it was like, I put 90 in and it was close to 90 that they were adding to it. You know, They didn't want to listen to anything. But I didn't care about that at the time. We already had good equity lift in it because we'd had it for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, it lifted the rent. So I was getting the cash flow into that.
What were you getting
property.
for rent for the house?
So we were getting $410 a week on that property, which is what we got.
Post reno?
No, sorry. $420 when we purchased it.
Yep.
And we continued to get that up until we renovated it. So those tenants moved out.
Yep. So you're getting $410 on a $260 purchase.
I know.
But then once you renovated it, what did you get after that?
$585.
$585 on
$585. That yield was just phenomenal. And that's nearly a year down the track. So I estimate now we should be able to get a 6 in front of that at the next rent review.
Yeah, because the market's still pumping there as well, both from a rental and from a sales.
Yeah.
What about the granny? What are you spending on the granny for that? The granny's still being built.
Granny's $250.
Yep.
$250 for the build. Estimating $500 a week rent on completion. And that
$500 a week?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're talking combined, you're at about $1,100 a week on a $600,000 all in. You've got a fully renovated house and then a brand new
$550 all in.
$550 all in.
Oh, sorry, no, you're right. I was
incorrected. $600K all in, and you're talking around about $1,100 a week.
Yeah,
mate, that's a pretty hectic return.
It's not bad, is it?
Bloody oath.
So that's what we needed because we were bleeding so much on that bloody Bridgie property.
Yeah.
But the problem was these two moved so quick. Like this stuff just gets in your blood, mate. It's like I'm talking to broke, and she's telling me how we can move forward. And to me it was like foreign. It's like I don't understand how.
Yeah.
At that point in time, I was one of those dummies you probably created School of Property for. I remember you talking about people you had to keep repeating yourself every time you spoke to someone. This is why we're doing it, or this is how it's going to happen. And that was me. And trust me, I took it all on board. Right? A lot of respect right from day one. But that school,
it was more just like as well, like, and I appreciate it, man, but it's all as well. It was more as well because like the strategic piece, like everyone goes through different stages in their portfolio. So you might be, let's say there's 3 different stages in a portfolio most people will be exposed to. If I'm having that same conversation almost every single day with people again and again, it's like, well, why not help upskill them so then they actually understand it. So then when you're coming through, you're having the conversation about what needs to go next, but instead of it being a 90-minute conversation, it's a 15-minute conversation, and then we're refining the brief that's going in there. And the more educated and empowered the investor is, look at yourself for what you do in a 2-year window here, 2 to 3 year window here. The more educated and empowered the investor is, the more that they have belief in the system, belief in the result, and then are willing to push the envelope, which allows them to get the result by pushing envelope because they've got the belief and they understand it, right?
While we're on that, I had a bit of a chat to you about it earlier. For us, what it done, it made me understand what was happening and why it was happening. And it made me feel a part of what we were doing. I sort of said earlier, where you get that feeling where you're a bit of a fraud because Sammy Gordon's doing all the work and he's buying and he's doing all this. But suddenly when you understand and see how it's happening and why it's happening and all the rest of it, you actually feel like you're included in the process because you understand what's going on.
For sure.
And you start talking to your mates, you talk about your circle of influence and everything, So there's people at work that I've spoken to that are really keen to come on. Kaylee's spoken to people at work and they're on board, They're working with APS, and that happens because you understand what's happening and why it's happening. And when you talk to these people, you can explain that too. And it just, mate, School of Property, it's life-changing and it just helps you, mate. It makes you feel so much better in what you're doing because you do understand it. You're not just feeling like you're being dragged along for the ride, just signing the contracts,
and the loan docs. One of the simple things that I always find as well is, and I've said this so many times before, is you don't know what you don't know.
Absolutely.
And man, I think the more you go through this stuff and you learn this stuff, and the whole idea of School of Properties, doesn't matter where you're at. The idea of it is when you watch it and see you watching it, like let's say 3 years ago compared to 2 years ago, compared to a year ago, compared to now, there's things that you'll pick up now that you wouldn't have picked up 1, 2, 3 years ago because you're not at that level yet to then go, oh shit, that unlocks the next piece and then the next piece and then the next piece.
Absolutely.
And all you need to do, if you could unlock one extra deal a year by understanding a little bit more of the next piece of the process, it's just, man, it's what we've seen, especially with what I've seen, even in your portfolio now and so many other clients, like that is the game-changing information, man, and education and empowerment that these clients get to go through, like yourself, that then just like set you on this completely different trajectory. You're not just doing a deal a year, you're doing 3-4 deals a year and pushing the envelope, So I love it, man. It's exciting, man. It really is exciting watching this sort of stuff. And that's why I love getting that feedback, because it just solidifies why I did it. And so many people are like, not so many people actually. It was funny. It was a small group of people I remember initially said to me, this is just a cash grab or whatever. And I'm just like, for you to say that, you don't understand what's in it because you don't understand what's in it. Like, it's not until you're inside. I've had investors that would look at you, 27 years in the game. You probably watched it, say 25 years into the game. You watched this thing when it came out. And it's like the level of learning, still 25 years in the game.
Absolutely.
But the amount of stuff that you learned, took away, and are able to apply in your portfolio allowed you to explode it. And I've had it happen with so many other clients that have been in the game 10, 20 years. And they're like, man, I didn't know this. I didn't know that. And again, man, you tweak one little thing, you open one little thing extra each year that allows you to acquire an extra deal. So, man, how does that compound? You do an extra deal every year over a 5-year window. That could, and let's say each deal's worth $600,000. That's $2.5 to $3 million worth of additional property you can throw in the portfolio. If you got an extra 50% return on those extra 5 deals at that $500,000 to $600,000, $2.5 to $3 million, you make an extra 50% gain on that. So $1.25 to $1.5 million extra gain just by doing an extra deal a year that you weren't able to otherwise unlock.
Absolutely.
That to me, man, is like, anyone can say whatever they want about it. You don't want to do it, don't do it. For anyone that's out there that's thinking about it. But that application, man, that's thousands of people that could apply that to the portfolio to make that. You know what I mean? It's not me making that. That's them being able to make that in their portfolio. And man, I think it's like you said it was life-changing, man. And I firmly believe it, man. I believe wholeheartedly because I know what's in it. You know what I mean? I know what I've put in it. I know what that can unlock and what we've seen, with people like yourself. And even like saying, man, it's not only like the ownership, but it's feeling like you're properly part of the journey, part of the process, which makes you buy in even more to then go even harder and get bigger results.
And that's a massive component. Don't underestimate it. Like it's easy to say, I've picked the right person and this is how I'm doing it. But actually understanding and feeling like you're actually an active part of it. And the other part to this is, and I say this to anyone that's not working with APS, you need to do it because it helps you navigate APS. It helps you work in with APS and get your deals done right, have confidence in pulling the trigger. And you need to go through that process to understand the importance of why that time frame is so important.
For sure. For sure.
So...
No, I love it, mate. I love it. I appreciate the feedback, man. So to recap, Reno and Granny, $260,000 purchase, $90K to fully renovate the thing, $250K into Granny. We're all in at $600,000. We're renting this thing for $1,100 a week, which is nearly 10% yield, which is off its head. Man, let me know what you actually rent that Granny for, because I reckon 500 is a little bit light. I reckon you'll get more.
I was going to say that. I was looking at one, and it was I reckon around 525, 525. So I was just looking at location. So our location seems it's not quite. It doesn't sit. The rents sit a bit lower than that location.
I get you.
So that's why I was looking at.
Was it comparable Granny bar? Was it the same Granny build?
I reckon it was.
Yeah. Okay.
I reckon it was built by the same person.
Okay. Yeah. Quite likely.
Yeah.
Mate, moving on. Next deal. Run me through it.
Okay. So.
We still in regional Queensland?
No.
Okay.
We're heading west again.
Okay.
So at this point in time, because we're in a hurry because of age, we've decided we're going to look at SMSF.
Okay.
So next one, we went over to WA. All right. We picked up this one, another shock to the system. It was on 223 square metres of land. And it's like, what are you talking about? What's this thing a unit, It's like, I had no idea these suburbs, exist on these size blocks of land. It's just crazy, The infill that they do in WA is just out there, and yet they've still got no property. But yeah, so we picked up this one. So we picked that up at 470. It rented out straight off the bat, so market rate for the rent on this thing was $550 a week.
Yep.
As soon as it went to market, the agent rang me up and said, "We've been offered $650 a week."
$650 a week on a 470K buy on 220 squares.
This guy was desperate because there was nothing happening, and he just had some personal issues happening. He needed to be in that location. His kids were there, so he's walked in off the street and gone, $650 a week for me a year.
Yep.
He's been in there ever since, and that rent's held ever since as well. So,
and what do you think that's worth now?
I reckon if I was to advertise it, go to market tomorrow, it'd be $650 to $670.
Okay. How long ago did you buy that?
Sorry, say that again.
How long ago did you buy that? When did you buy that?
We bought that little one 23rd of April 2024.
Okay, sweet. Okay, so about 18 months on,
yeah,
and you've made about about 200,000.
Yep.
Okay, sweet. So we're talking 250K up.
Some
in 18
comparables
months.
Very close have landed in the high sixes and some over the sevens. So I reckon it's very close to that 7.
Okay. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah,
so we're talking circa 250K in an 18-month window.
Yeah.
Yeah, sweet.
I was hoping you could do a bit better than that.
Come on, mate. All right, next up.
Come on, what are you doing, Shark? Early in the water.
Hey, Bull Shark versus Croc. There's too many battles going on.
That's it.
We're going to the Whale Sharks next. All right, mate. Next up, what do we got? What are we following this with? Next one.
So next one's back in regional Queensland.
Yep.
So we were sitting at 380. We paid 380 for that.
Yep.
Now this is a good one. This one we bought as a 3-1.
Yep.
So, but when we got it, we had a look at the floor plans. It was actually a 4-1.
Okay.
And it was advertised, rented, sold as a 3-1, and we got, so for that deal, that money, we got a good deal.
Yeah, buddy.
Cost us $125 to put a smoke alarm in it.
Yep.
And we had a 4-bedroom house.
Beautiful.
So that one, as I said, 470 purchase. 380.
On that one.
Looking at the wrong one.
Yeah.
380 purchase. Probably, I've guesstimated 650K value today.
Okay.
So when we bought that, 350 a week rent, that was another one that was already under current lease, and it was certainly under. So a few months later, we upped that to 480 a week.
Yep.
And same tenants remain, but we just told them, you're living in a 4-bedroom house.
Yep.
You're welcome to stay, but it's been rented out as a 4-bed and not a 3.
And so that one was, again, so that's a 380K buy in May 24 at a 650K val. So again, you're up, there's another 250K there in an 18-month window.
And it's been rented at $520 a week at the moment.
Yep.
And I'd say that'll pop again shortly when we release it.
For sure. And that market's still pumping as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Beautiful. Beautiful. All right, mate. What's up next?
Okay, so still in regional Queensland.
Yep.
Basically...
Is this one still SMSF or this is the outside?
So next one, we're in regional Queensland.
Okay.
So basically, big 5-bedroom, big banger.
Yeah.
It's got big banger.
Beautiful.
It's got a pool.
Yeah, beautiful.
And this one's going to be cash flow again.
Okay.
So the intent was to build a granny on the back of that. So it was not as big as the other one, 850 odd square metre block.
Okay.
But we've decided to go in another direction on that one since.
Yep.
But numbers on that one. So purchased August 24, 515K.
Mm-hmm.
We initial rent on purchase was $620 a week.
Yep.
It's currently rented at $650 a week.
Yep.
Estimated vow $680 to $700.
Okay, sweet. So we're talking again like circa probably 15 months on this thing, and you've been up around about 170, 180K, something like that. Yeah, perfect. Perfect. I love it. And so you're saying we're pivoting obviously from this one. So this one originally was done as a cash flow deal, but we've pivoted away from wanting to do it as a cash flow.
Yeah.
It's more of an owner-occupier style home. Let that market run, which probably got another 12 months in the tank. Let it run through that, and then probably look to clip that and move the cash into something else.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, perfect.
I
love that.
So moving on from that one, we're still in regional Queensland.
Yep.
So this is the one I think I said to you earlier. This is probably my favourite. It's only a little 3-1.
Yep.
It's a beautiful little house that got renoed before we bought it.
Yep.
Picked that up for $455.
Okay, sweet.
It's a big block of land, 915 square metres, I believe. It's got a big pool in the backyard, outside entertainment area. Just great little family home,
Yeah,
this
like
one.
this one, yep.
So on purchase, we were getting $550 a week rent. That's since increased to $580.
On a $455 purchase?
Yeah.
Yeah. When was that? What month was that?
When we purchased it.
Yeah.
So that was August 2024.
Well, that was August 24 as well. Okay, cool. Yep.
And I estimate that value to be around $680K.
Okay, sweet. Now, when you say you estimate being $680K as well, you're going on realestate.com looking at comparables?
2-month-old data.
Okay, sweet. And so you're looking at comparables from a couple of months old, and then using that obviously to be able to determine what you think, comparably, that same style of asset, what that would be worth in today.
Yeah,
absolutely. What comparable properties to that are selling for right now. So $455K purchase again, circa 15 months ago, in August 24, running at the $680K val. So very similar sort of numbers. But again, over 200K up over 200K in a 15-month window again.
Yep, absolutely.
You might owe me a beer, mate.
Could upscale it to a Bundy or something.
Hey, a bit of Bundy rum. Let's go.
Yo, big night. Game on.
All right, mate. What are we cooking up next? We're ripping through these, mate. I'm liking this. Good stats, good numbers.
Rightio. So next one.
Yes.
Again, regional Queensland.
Yep.
So this one was purchased November 24.
Okay.
475 purchase.
Mm-hmm.
485 a week rent at the time.
485.
That's on purchase.
Yep,
so that was under a little bit.
Yep.
So it's currently renting at 530.
Okay, sweet.
So we haven't had it that long, obviously. Mm-hmm. Estimated at val, I reckon 650.
Okay, sweet. Beautiful, mate. So in a little bit over a year, because we're recording this just a week out from Christmas. So we're recording this in obviously December. I think it's mid-December, 16, 17, something like that. So a little bit over a year, 13 months. We're up 175K on that one as well.
Yep.
Beautiful. I love it, mate. And what's that one? So that one's obviously, that's in SMSFs, that's obviously a bread and butter.
Correct.
And what's that? How many beds and bath is that one?
That's a 4 and 2 on 800.
Okay, sweet. 4 and 2 and 800 squares.
Yep.
Beautiful. I love it, mate. I love it. How many have we got left in the kitty? We're ripping through these.
So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4.
4 to go.
Three APS and the other one.
Mate, hit me with it. Let's roll.
Rightio. So secret source locations. November 2024. Purchase 470K. This is a 4 and 1.
Yep.
470K purchase. Mm-hmm. Rent on purchase was 430.
Okay.
And we've just gone through an increase to 440. It's shit yield location.
Interesting. Okay. Oh, yes. Okay, I understand where that is.
You with that one now?
Yeah. I thought it was somewhere else for a second there. I was like,
yeah, I know where you thought it was.
Yeah. We're still running at 5%, but it's not
yeah, it's not a horrible yield, but you know.
It's not where we're getting on some of the other
not
ones.
what I've come used to from you. I expect better from you.
What are we thinking valuation-wise? That's a year ago. What are we thinking val-wise?
Val-wise at the moment, mate, this is a tough one for me to work out.
Yeah.
But I'm reckoning around 575 at the moment.
Okay, so about 100K up.
Yep, that's what I reckon. And that may be lied on. Yeah, it may not be.
Yeah, and I think we're a bit earlier in the cycle on that one as well. It's only really turned probably in the last 6 months too. So it's that was a bit of an up and comer, which I think has been a good.
All three of these ones we're talking about now, they're all in up and coming markets.
Yep.
So there wasn't a lot of movement early.
Yep.
Understandably, but we're in these for the whole cycle.
Yeah. So. Yep. Perfect. And that was outside SMSF.
So correct.
Okay,
so everything else we've got now is outside
SMSF.
SMSF.
Okay, sweet. All right, cool, man. Talk to me about the final two then.
Okay, so next one, 3 and 1 purchased in secret source location, November 2024. This was a 3 and 1 purchase price, 560. Rent. What was that one renting for? This
is a bread and butter again.
Yeah, this is a bread and butter as well. This one, $670 a week we got on this one. So We actually
6.5% yield straight off the bat.
we rented it for both of these next two were vacant possession, and we got much better outcome than the estimates that we got.
Okay, perfect.
Excuse me. So that was $670 a week on that.
Yep.
What did we say?
560
purchase.
3-in-1 bread and butter.
That one I'm thinking it's sitting around $650 at the moment.
Yeah. Knowing where that is, I think 650 potentially light on. I reckon you're probably closer to 7 on that. In all reality, I reckon you're sitting. I mean, maybe 650 bottom end, but I think you're probably closer to 7. Between.
I think you're probably right.
Yeah.
The problem is nothing's for sale there.
I know there's not much stock.
There's no comparables for
Yep.
me to look at. But I'm confident you're right.
Yeah. But even running on your numbers of what we're running through here, and so you can only go off what you can see data-wise, whereas I can obviously see what transacts off market.
And who you're talking to. And
yeah, exactly. And seeing what's going through, whether it's us stuff we're buying off market or whether it's stuff we know other people are paying as well.
Yep.
But I think that'd definitely be close to the 700K mark. But still, even at the 650, 660, still 100,000 in a 12-month window.
Absolutely.
Which is still over 20%.
Yeah, I'm not bleeding over
still over 20%. Mate, give me the final one. Give me the final APS investment.
Okay, final one. So 20th of December.
Well, we're in December.
So nearly 12 months to the day.
That's it.
So 585K.
Yep.
760 a week.
Whoa.
Not bad, eh?
Not bad at all.
But to be fair, we put 5K into this.
We give you a fucking $200 a week increase.
We done an internal paint.
Okay.
But 760. That's what I said. The two yields on these were just phenomenal.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You know, so they've been great.
That's a 3-in-1 as well.
That's a 4-and-2.
Oh, it's a 4-and-2. Sorry,
yeah.
4-and-2.
Yeah, and that's that location.
Oh, dude,
it's
you're talking 750 to 8 there.
Yeah,
100%. Okay, sweet. All right, beautiful. No, I love that, mate. I love that. And that was about a year ago as well. So we're talking 150K up.
Yep.
At least for that in the 12 months. And again, that market was an up and comer at the time. It's now firmly what we would consider a running market.
Yep.
Which is nice. Like all three of those final deals there. It's still crazy because you think about the others in say 18 months have done like 2 to 250, and these in 12 months they've transitioned into runners, and now they're still up like 100 to 150.
Yep.
It's still crazy numbers to throw around. We're talking 20 to 30% plus. You know, as capital growth rates, you know, annualized, man. So that's massive, man. So that's 10 deals in at this point in terms of what's in the current portfolio.
Yes, correct.
Talk to me about this final purchase that you've obviously made. You've made yourself as well. So talk about this one.
Look, we've decided to start looking at location for retirement.
Yep.
So we've purchased a property over in I'll call it Port Douglas region.
Yep.
Block of land. We've got, it's a 1,500 square metre block of land. It was on market at 540. We end up landing it at 490. It's got a little 2-bedroom shitter shack on it.
Yeah, shitter shack.
A shitter shack.
Wow.
It's
we'll trademark that.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. It's all yours. Cost you a Ferrari. So with this thing, and this is, you know, School of Property working with you.
Yep.
This is where the brain gets thinking, you know. The back fence of this block is basically on the beach.
Beachfront, yeah.
Yeah, it's beachfront, absolute beachfront. So we're under 500K, and the little shitter on the front of the block, it's right up the front. So that's left that whole back end of that block vacant.
Yeah.
So that's the location that we've decided the dream home's going to be built.
Beautiful.
Done all the council checks and all the due diligence along those lines. And then whilst we're living in this 2-bedder, waiting for this all to happen, we'll renovate the little shack, and that's going to be another little income into the future.
Yeah, beautiful.
So, you know, based on today, we're pulling $500 a week rent on it.
Yeah.
Rented, probably going to go to 600, maybe better.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so, you know, income-wise, that might be 30K a year minus costs.
Yeah.
Which is obviously going to help in future with cash flow and everything else as well. So,
Yep.
yeah, that was, I sort of done that a little bit sneaky, that one. So I was waiting for a bit of a backhander from the shark on that. I thought that might be a bit of early, but you're disappointed.
Mate, I think the thing, right, is when it comes to the owner rock, and I know that you and I, with our overall game plan, we're in the final phases of it as well. And I think like when we look at the overall picture and the overall portfolio, now if you were 20 years younger with a goal twice the size of what you're chasing, because it would have stalled what we were really looking to do.
Yeah.
But at where you've sort of gotten yourself to, and the position and the timing of where you're at, and the positioning, I know that the transition you're about to make away from where you're living right now too, it's like, I know that what we've got left to do in the portfolio, I can do with what we've got.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And like we worked it out before we did this session, and I showed you the phases in terms of which I was going to move your portfolio. Dude, I'm not worried about you picking that up, because that formulates part of the back end game plan that we probably, like, I would have been more than comfortable with you. If you brought this to me and actually asked me, hey, Sammy, this is what I'm thinking of doing. Does this stall our journey? Well, looking at what we have here, it doesn't, because of the moves that we can still make in the portfolio moving forward. So I'm not stressed by it. If anything, the next step that I needed to make in the portfolio for you anyway included, like, this doesn't affect that because of what we needed to keep moving forward and what we need to acquire next.
Yep.
So it doesn't worry me at all, man. And what we're about to move into, the phases we've got left. We've got several rounds of acquisition and consolidation we're about to move to over the next 1, 2, and 3 years.
Yep.
And we've got 3 phases of it within there before a final set of consolidation. It doesn't affect it because of the size and power of what we've already built. Yep. So yeah, man. And it's a full 90K shitter shack purchase in your dream front, dream like beachfront location. We're not talking a $2 million primary residence with $1.6 million worth of debt on it that completely fucks the journey. We're talking about something that, like, it's something you can live in now. You're going to renovate it. It's going to add a little bit of cash on the back end. You're going to build the dream home at the end of the journey when we're finished with this as well, which we're going to help, fund in with cash through some sell downs and whatnot. But it's like, man, it doesn't stop what we're doing now, and that's why I'm fine with it.
And that's a point I'd like to make on that as well is we were talking about school of property earlier. Now, understanding that is what enabled me to confidently go ahead without ringing you. All right? So I knew the next one we're going to clip is going to free up a certain amount of capital
for sure
in one area we're going to be able to use in multiple areas.
Yes.
So it's just another reason that really says it's so worthwhile to sit down and have a look at this stuff.
Yep.
So, but I appreciate. I was pretty close to your way of thinking.
For sure.
I know you dropped in a few more surprises. I'll give you that. And probably the end result. As always, when I talk to you, you're usually, sitting a little bit above where I'm sitting there going, oh, I only need this. And you're going, well, you're here, you need to be here. Yeah. So, and I really appreciate it. Yeah.
Of course, man. I think that it's a reality. It's just a reality-based way of looking at it. Because like I said to you, I was like, we can do two ways. We can do your way and you end at this, but there's certain pieces we can maneuver in the portfolio now that can land us here, even if through a little bit of extra debt consolidation with the extra asset, which you're going to still be working during this time frame. So for me, I'm always like, we hear the options of what you can do. Now it's up to you. You can do whatever you decide to do, and then we can action it together. And so, man, I'm always one. See, this is the thing as well. When you come in, 12 months ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, well, circa 3.5 years ago, when we had our first conversation.
Yep.
You also probably didn't realize what was possible. And also, like, I often undershoot the performance that we get out. So, like, I'll bank on a certain amount of profit being made or a certain amount being made on deals. But then if we massively smash those targets like we've done, then it's like, okay, well, if this is a time frame we've still got left to invest, this is what I could do. This is what I could do for you on top. And then again, it's your decision in terms of if you want to push the envelope and go down that ave.
And that's probably something for the other viewers to think about. Like, we go in conservatively.
Yep.
Don't. Go in with what you want.
Yeah.
Like, this is what we want. Go in. I've known you long enough now to know if they're dreaming, you're going to tell them they're dreaming.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? I know you won't mince your words. But if you go in and undershoot, it's hard to push it up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So go in for what you want and let yourself tell them that, no, this is where we're going to get to.
For sure.
But I can tell you from experience, what you've done for us far exceeds any expectations we ever had.
Yep.
And we couldn't be more appreciative.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate it, and I love to get to work with people like yourself as well, man. And what we've built is super impressive. I love that I've been able to help you on the journey, build what you've done and what we've done together, man. So it's unreal, and I'm really looking forward to where are they now and around about. I reckon it'll be 24 to 36 months when we're pretty much finished. We'll be in our final stages of. We'll probably have rounded out a final phase, or we might be a phase away from a consolidation and then the final acquisition piece as well. But the final acquisition piece will probably be almost rounded, and they'll be moving into the final consolidation. So I'm looking forward to it, man. I think it's going to be a really powerful podcast. I think it's going to be a really powerful podcast, especially for that older generation who thought it wasn't or thinks it isn't possible. When you understand, when you put relevant timeframes in front of things, and this is funny because we're talking about in 2 years, it'll be 5 years since we started working together.
Yes.
We'll have achieved a lot in that time frame.
Absolutely.
But it's a funny thing, man. Like I go back and look at my parents in that time frame of when they were your age, and they go, "We can't make enough money in this time frame." And then you fast forward 15 years, and they did nothing.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what could they have done in 5 years?
Absolutely.
Because 5 years is a considerable amount of time if you're an active investor.
It's ridiculous amount of time.
And so, man, like 12 months is a lot of time if you're an active investor. 2 years is a lot of time, but 5 years, man.
Yep.
Look at what we've done in 3.5, let alone
Absolutely.
like 3.5 compared to what it's going to be when we hit that 5-year window in 2 years' time.
Yeah, well, be careful, mate. I might be off grid in 2030 when you want me on the stage.
Yeah, that's it, mate. No, you can't miss all the summers. That's what you're going to be there for.
Absolutely.
You can't miss that one. You cannot miss
mate,
that
I've got to get to
I think I'm going to fly a private bloody helicopter somewhere in Arnhem Land to go find you. I'm going to find you.
I like it.
The young fella's going to put a beacon in your backpack, and I'm going to find you wherever you are and bring you to the summit. All right?
Sounds good. Looking forward to it, mate.
Mate, I'm looking forward to it as well. Man, it's there's a lot of really cool stuff in there. I always like to finish with rapid fire, but before we finish it, I want to know if you could give your key takeaways of pre-APS journey. We've just run through, mate, we're over 2 hours in now of your journey to date, and you've had an exceptional life. You've had an exceptional investing journey and resilience, I think, through the whole piece. But if you give your key takeaway or two from pre-APS journey, what would you say?
Look, uneducated. I think for any generation now, you need to go out and do your own research. You need to look at what is actually possible. It's all well and good to listen to mum and dad who you have absolute trust in and that have your best interest at heart. There is no doubt about that. But things have changed. The world's changed. Get in, have a look at organisations like APS. There's no one else I'd recommend anyone else do. That's from my position. And I say that genuinely, hand on heart. But whatever path you take, educate yourself. Understand where you're going. Just rent vest, mate. Rent vest. Mm-hmm. Get into the rent vesting. Get that first deposit going, and then go from there. You've done a couple of podcasts like Young Bailey and different ones. They're podcasts that I've sat my kids in front of and said, have a look at that. You do not need the $100,000 car. You do not need the PPR at the moment. In 2 years, technically, you might be able to sell those and buy those things cash. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And then, we all know what happens once you get those first two and you get bitten by the bug. They ain't buying cars.
Yeah, I'm buying that car. No, definitely not, man.
So that's that for me. That's probably the biggest takeaway, mate.
Yeah.
We were just naive, lazy in the education piece over the years and really not pushing it to understand it, Yeah.
I think what you say there on the naivety, man, I think that's probably the biggest piece rather than laziness, because there wasn't that much information back then, especially you rewind 20 years ago. In the 2000s, there wasn't really that much. In the 2010s, I was fortunate that there was magazines that I could at least go through and read, and that's where I got so much of my information. Now, no one has any excuse. Like the amount of podcasts that are there, there's still a lot of different publications, but podcasts specifically, even courses, school property, different things like that. Like there's so much there that can actually be consumed. I think now there's no excuse for laziness.
Absolutely.
Whereas back then, I feel like it was more of there wasn't enough around, and it's an interesting thing because it's like the only other alternative is, could you have found someone that has done what you're trying to do? But then again, how hard would that have been? Because then who's publicising it? Then no one was out there. BAs weren't really around back then either.
Absolutely.
Man, it's an interesting thing to think about.
I've got to say, just a quick in there when you say who else could you talk to? Like an old army mate of mine, Wilco. I'll give him a shout.
Yeah, Wilco, shout out.
He's a legend.
There we go.
But him and I were running around early days out Wagga Wagga way, and he he was a hard worker.
Yep.
2-3 jobs, never stopped.
Yep.
And if you can sort of get your head around early mid-90s,
Yep.
he went and bought himself a property in Redfern.
Yeah, right.
Redfern.
Jesus.
Back in the block days,
Yeah.
all of that going on. And I sat back and he said to me...
In when? In the 90s?
Yeah, that was in the 90s.
Yeah.
So sort of just after I'd come out of the army and
Yep.
him and I had hooked up. And he had that foresight, and he went from there down into Melbourne. He done well out of both of those. He was great, and he did have a bit of that knowledge.
Yep.
But I used to look at him going, mate, you just bought a house in Redfern. Why am I going to listen to you? A few years later, it was like,
Well, and behold,
wish I'd have bought a house in
mate,
Redfern.
I've seen some stories of people buying like terraces in Redfern for like 15 to 20K, and now they're worth like 4 or 5 million.
I know, it's crazy.
'Cause my old boy was a detective in Regent Street in Redfern, and it was the Knox, man. Like it was proper ghetto back then until they bulldozed all the community social housing, like those massive blocks of social housing in there too.
Yep.
So it's a crazy thing, man. Like when that stuff goes through, like hindsight, it's one of those things. It's interesting to look back on stuff, man. You can't ever have regrets about it. You just got to have lessons, and you learn from them, and you look back now, and sometimes you're like, so much makes sense in hindsight. But then when you're in there, man, you're doing it. It is what it is, and like as long as you learn from it, apply the right things moving forward.
We had a couple of chances. We didn't cash in on the opportunity. Other people, you mentioned podcasts. Watch as many as you want. It doesn't take you long to work out who know what they're talking about. I'll turn podcasts on now and I'll turn them off within a very short time because, sometimes the first sentence that comes out of their mouth, you just go, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, right.
But, just saturate yourself with information and work it out. But have a look at this, you've got genuine investor stories on here.
Yep.
You can see that we're knockabout blokes from all over the country and ladies, obviously, genuine people. Yeah, it's what's happened to us is real, and if people don't jump on and take that opportunity, then it's something I'll regret in years to come.
I'll ask you one thing, and you probably just answered it just then. The only final thing I want to sort of ask you and finish with is, what would you say to anyone that are in their 50s, man, and they're thinking about it? I know what you just said then is probably exactly what you're going to lead into with this, but what anyone that's in their 50s and this is the thing, if I could speak to anyone that's like that, that's like my parents that sat in that position, like I wish they had a me back then that could jump on and help guide them, because I know what is possible in the time frame like what you've done. What would you say to anyone that's sitting in the 50s or any kids, 20s, 30s,
absolutely,
sitting there and they could send it on to their parents and the parents could hear one thing, and they haven't pulled the trigger or they're nervous, what would you say?
Look, I'm not a one-off.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I'm not sitting here. I wasn't the lucky one that managed to do well out of the portfolio. What I would say is listen to this stuff, and take action. Look, it's not too late. You have a look at that Gosnells property we spoke about. You have a look at your return on investment. We kicked that off with a 60K down.
That's crazy.
What's that? What's that? Bloody 30 odd times on
30x
on ROI.
Yeah.
30x on.
Well, what'd you say? 60K down.
Yeah. We put 60K in.
Yeah.
So that the power of that leverage.
Yep.
Working with someone that knows what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Not just putting you into a market because it hasn't run for a while, but actually strategically picking markets, whether they're running markets or whether they're ready to run markets. And using them at the right time. And if you're this old, and I assume that's what you've done with us, is you dropped us into running markets straight away, which enabled us to gather that equity to be able to push forward and keep buying properties. 50, what are you looking at now? 17 years before you can get the pension. What I've done in 3 years, what can you do with 17? And you're not going to be sitting there in 17 years, I'll guarantee you.
Yeah, for sure.
In 7-10 years, what you can achieve is just.
And the other thing as well is the pension. You say 29 grand for an individual, 44K for a couple. Mate, that's nothing. Like you look at what we're looking to build out. Even if all you did was do a deal a year for the next 10 years, 15, 17 years. Like if that was all you did and they ran in the same time frame, you're probably talking the equivalent of, instead of 30K, you're maybe talking literally, all you did was that over that period of time. You're talking a considerable amount.
Absolutely.
You're talking probably a couple of hundred.
Yeah,
but you could
absolutely.
you're probably half the time frame.
Yeah,
If you did this thing properly and was active about it as well. And not even going like gung. I'm not even talking about going gung ho. I'm talking about buying a couple of deals a year. I'm talking about going crazy.
And the yields that you're getting are good yields, you know. So out-of-pocket costs are not massive. So don't be frightened about what negative there's going to be over those years. You'll see in the first 6 to 12 months, you'll see that whatever your negative is just, you know, eaten away.
You blow it out of the water with growth.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
So, mate, depending on your fitness, depending on your health, I really don't think you you need to worry about time.
Yep.
But just commit. Know what your working life is. You need, obviously, you're going to have a job to be able to access finance.
Still that servicing. Yep.
You know, unless you've got a big wad of cash sitting there. But apart from that, if you've got another 5-10 years work left in you, get off your ass and do something. Don't whinge about not having anything later.
I love it, mate. I love it. Man, one of the big things as well, so I'm going to run through my sort of recap points too, but one of the big things is that, just to finish up from that too, is when I look at it, and even if I look at my parents, you know, in retrospect, it's like, what's the alternative? You know, if you're 55, which I remember the conversation I would have had with them, man, I'm 16 years in the game now, over 16 years in the game. I would have had that conversation. They're 71 and 73 now, so probably mid to late 50s, I would have had that conversation with them. And it's like, well, what's the alternative? And I remember it was my mum that she used to say to me, she's like, oh, there's not like I won't make enough from the deal, like I can't retire from one deal or whatever. And it's like, and I wasn't educated enough to be able to walk them through, well, this is the whole process of like, you know, if you've done these deals, these deals. And it's not one deal. And like, if you combine a few grannies with a few bread and butters, whatever, you know, you're going through the sell down. But it's like, I look at it now and it's like, well, what's the alternative? And they've literally only just sold the family business 15 years on, you know, and it's like, they've worked that long, that hard. It's like, well, what was the alternative? If all you've done is place yourself in those correct markets, even if nothing else, if that's all that they've done, you know, they could have made so much. Well, they didn't really do anything until the last couple of years. So it's, you know, what's the alternative to not doing anything? It's, you know, getting educated and then taking action and trial it. Do a deal. See if that deal wins. And if that deal wins, okay, maybe do another deal. You know, even if you're dipping the toe in from that end, and I'm not normally one to advocate just dipping the toe in. If I do something, I go all in.
All in, absolutely.
But if you're nervous, you know, and you're in your 50s, you're worried about losing it, dip the toe in, trial a deal, because what's the alternative? The alternative is getting to, you know, 67 years of age and being on the pension, 39 grand as a single, 44K as a couple. And that's not living. That's working your entire life to then survive. No, I'm with you, man. I'm really glad you brought that back up. Mate, I think a few of the key things I reflect on is you realizing when you had that shift in job in 2019, I feel like that was a catalyst moment for you of realizing you didn't have enough. That 2019 shift in focus, man, I feel like there's almost always a turning point that comes in life that propels you on a different journey, and we all have them, and sometimes we embrace them and sometimes we don't. And a lot of us have them at multiple times in life, depending how big and full a life we've lived. But man, I feel like that for you. And the crazy thing when you think about it, man, I'm getting tingles over me right now thinking about this. That was almost 7 years ago, 6 years ago, right? We're going on 7 years ago since then. And like what you've achieved in that time frame of realizing you need to make a change, starting to be educated, and then pulling the trigger on stuff as well. And when you really think about the change that you've gone through and what you're going to reap in this time frame, mate, that's crazy to think about. Just having that realization 6 years ago. We're about to go on 7 years of that. Having a realization 6 years ago, you're 3 million net equity now. You're about to go into another level, another position, mate. That's inspiring shit. Like that's really, really powerful stuff, and I love that, mate. Like looking at that,
mate. We've got nothing but gratitude for you guys and what you've done for us.
I appreciate it. Man. No, I appreciate it. It's really, really cool to see, mate. I love that. The next thing as well, man, is like realizing something that I took away from what you were sort of talking about before that a lot of people miss and they forget about. And I talk about this a little bit as well. Next thing, school of property. Understanding what and why different things are happening and actually being on the journey, not just being a passenger. And that's why, mate, with us and everyone who's tried to work with APS or works with APS now, you know it's mandatory to do School of Property. It's an APS membership joint with School of Property. It's because we want educated investors that are getting on, that I'm not sitting on. We're not sitting on having 60-minute, 90-minute conversations about the same thing again and again. You get it, man. You understand it. You know why you're doing it, and you're pushing harder than you've ever pushed before because you have that education piece that you can continue driving the portfolio to.
Absolutely.
And man, I think like having that piece, you look at the run of growth, you look at the drive you've put in the portfolio over the last 3 years of us working together, man. Like absolutely crazy.
Been chaos.
Absolutely crazy.
Absolute chaos, mate. Like I told you earlier, sitting up till 2 o'clock in the morning, waiting to hook up with a solicitor to get advice. It cost me $750 one night. And this is because we live remote. This isn't something that happens to many people, you would hope. But yeah, we had to get these SMSF documents back to the solicitor same day.
Yeah.
$750 to get a letter there. But the growth in that particular property that was impacted, well over 200K.
I love it, man. And that's just to today's date. That's just to today.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like what's going to happen in the next 12, 24 months with that same property?
Absolutely, mate.
I love it, man. I love it, mate. That's pretty much it from me. I think there's so much good stuff in this. I think people would have taken a lot of value. It's funny when we started it. When I said to you, I go, "Oh, mate, it's probably about an hour to an hour and a half." We're almost 2.5 hours in.
You're joking.
Yeah, see, and you were nervous at the start. You think, "Oh, I don't know, we're going to have to talk." Maybe 2.5 hours in. This thing's been running, mate. It doesn't feel like it at all, does it?
No, it doesn't.
No, mate. This has been an epic conversation. I know a lot of people take a lot of value out of it. Mate, I really hope, and I think the same thing happened when we did Big Pete Wandle's story as well. I really hope a lot of older generation people, 50s, whether it's 50s, 60s, even people about to go into their 50s and stuff, realize the power of getting educated and then pulling the trigger.
Yeah,
don't get educated and don't pull the trigger. Get educated, pull the trigger. Even if you dip your toe in and do one deal. If we can achieve nothing else in this podcast, man, if we could inspire one person, let alone 100 or 1,000 people in that position, just to make a start, make a go of it, make something happen, man. I know for me personally, I know you're going to be the same. Man, if we could impact that many people to change the direction, the financial future of their lives by doing just something like that, because we both know they do it, they do the one deal and they do it right and they get the win, they're going to do it again.
Absolutely.
They're coming back. And whether it's me, whether they're doing it themselves or whatever it is, man, if we can just literally change those people's lives to then go and be able to achieve that thing, man, and change that financial future, change that outcome, then, man, you and I and today's podcast, it's all been worth it, man.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I genuinely hope someone takes something from it. And anyone, particularly anyone over the age of 50, dive in, like it'll make a difference. Yeah. And if one person does that, this is all well worth it.
100%, man, 100%. One big thing I want to throw in here, guys, is I know the majority of our audience are 25 to 45-year-old both genders, 25 to 45 years of age. If you're listening to this, whatever age group you are right now, but especially if you're in that age group and you've got parents and they don't know what they're doing above this thing, where they're using us, whatever they're doing, but if they got their head stuck in the sand thinking, oh, it's going to be all good, I'll get to this pension, whatever it is, send them the podcast. They don't even need to do anything with us. I don't really care, but if we can change that financial trajectory for them and enable them to do something else, same way as Mark's done here, same way I wish my parents had done back then as well, send it on to them. Let them use this as a bit of belief, that something else bigger and better out there is possible and that they can do it. Where they just start saturating themselves with a bit of information, change the situation they're in, achieve something bigger and better. It's 100% possible.
And on that, Sammy, if you guys are sitting out there are working with APS and you're doing well and you're kicking goals with the APS team, that's reinforcement for mum and dad, like here's this guy, he's done it, we're doing it. Get off your ass, mum and dad.
Let's go.
Time to make it happen.
Beautiful. Get off your ass, mum and dad. Let's go.
Yep.
I love
absolutely.
it. I love it. Now, big Marky boy, mate, I know you love a bit of rapid fire, mate. I know you get G'd up by listening to some of the other stuff as well. Are you ready to hook in a bit of rapid fire to finish?
Right, come on. Give it
First of all, I just want to say a massive thank you, man, for what you've shared today and every little bit of bits and pieces you've thrown in here, man. I know we're about to rip into something a little bit fun here, but mate, I know honestly, man, you've shared a lot of wisdom, a lot of value, a lot of lessons, a lot of learnings, and a lot of people are going to take a lot out of this too, man. So I really want to say massive thank you for coming and sharing that today.
My pleasure, mate. Thank you for having me in here.
It's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Now, mate, you ready for a bit of rapid fire?
Well, we'll see how we go, eh?
Mate, let's go. Man, question number 1, biggest goal you're chasing?
Time. One of the other guys you interviewed, and I thought, you know what? That's it, time. You can't buy time back. When you get to our age, every day you don't have to go to work that you can spend with your kids, spend with your grandkids. Not that I've got any of them yet, but that's the biggest goal.
Yep.
But if we talk monetary value, 250K passive would be great.
Yep.
And obviously at probably 1.8 to 2 mil on the residence.
On the primary residence, on that build. Mate, I love it, man. By the way, I love that answer. Time is actually the biggest goal that you're chasing to get back. I love that. You covered this. Dream primary residence?
Okay, so just to expand on that, the dream primary residence,
Any buildings
where we've already bought.
Yeah.
But what we're looking to build is a pavilion-style home.
Yep.
That's really going to hopefully be set around resort-style living.
Yep.
And a little bit manipulative, but it's about wanting the kids to come home at Christmas and having everything there, the boat, the quads, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So where we've bought and building the right house that
Beautiful.
is just everyone's gonna love.
Beautiful. Pavilion resort style home that makes the kids want to come home for Christmas.
That's the one.
I love it, mate. Beautiful. Dream car.
It ain't a Ferrari.
Oh, what are you going to give me? What are you going to give me?
All right, we're gonna go for a 300 series.
Land Cruiser.
Yeah, GR Sport.
I
mate.
love it. You know what's funny? If I asked my old boy, he'd probably say the same thing.
Yeah.
He literally would say the same thing.
Practical, tough, mate. And I'll tell you, it's one of the hardest things to think about. When you sit down and you go, you've got an unlimited budget
Yeah.
and you live the life that we live,
Yep.
it ain't about the $500, $600, $700,000 car. It's about the car that's going to do the job you want it to do.
Practicality and the beastliness.
That's it,
as well.
mate.
Mate, it's all good, brother. I get it, mate. I get it. Favourite bevy?
Oh, I'd have to go rum. I like Bundy.
Yeah.
I like me captains and the Krakens and all those. So primarily rum.
Yeah.
Yeah, whether it's spiced or otherwise.
Yeah, mate, I grew up on Bundy and I grew up on the Kraken as well. It's a funny thing, mate. When you grow up in the bush, it just seems to be the drink of choice. You're either a beer drinker. I mean, you're either a beer drinker or you're a rum drinker or you're both. So, mate, I definitely grew up with the rum.
Oh, you got to remind Lukey, mate. He promised Kaylee a bottle of vodka too.
Did he?
Remember?
What, the red room?
I know.
Red room?
And I've seen Lukey because he welched on a bottle of OU, didn't he?
He did, mate. We're still
I remember
waiting.
that.
I'm still waiting.
Yeah, so we were having a link up with Lukey, and do you recall you used to have, I think you had a studio across the road from a brewer, and you used to have the vodka on the table.
100%. Red Brews.
I'll send you one, Kaylee. yeah. Into the big fella.
Mate, I'll tell you what.
Only joking, Lukey.
Lukey's a dog. Mate, we'll get a bottle up to you. Do you want the 5-bolt one or do you want the normal? The 5-bolt is the cinnamony one, or do you want the spiced one, or do you want the stock standard?
I think she'd go for the stock.
You know what's
she'd
so
go
funny?
for the cinnamon.
I was 100% sure, literally 100% sure you were going to go, well, mate, if you're offering both, I'll take both.
Mate, since you're offering both, I'll take both.
Done like a dinner, mate. We're going to get up to it and I'm going to take it out of Lukey's paycheck. Next thing, favourite food, mate. What do you love? You like steak, bit of crocodile schnitzel? What do you like?
I'm a prawn man. Love prawns.
Yeah.
Like, cooked in different ways.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely love
What's your
prawns.
favourite way to cook a
Seafood,
prawn?
Mud crabs.
Yeah, beautiful. Favourite way to cook a prawn?
I like them just red, mate. Ice.
Yeah?
Crack a beer or a Bundy and sit there and just...
I love it.
Red prawn, mate.
I love it. Can I actually ask you something? A bit of a side quest here. Mate, you ever have the Dark and Stormies back in the day when the Dark and Stormies came out?
Yeah.
Were you a fan?
No.
No, really?
No. Actually, back in the day when...
Start with a bit of Bundy ginger beer as well.
Back in the day when Dark and Stormies come out, I never drank Bundy. I got really hooked on Bundy in the early days and I couldn't drink it. And it wasn't until later, it was actually in 2015 when we went around Australia, one of Kaylee's cousins hooked up with us and he had a couple of Bundy UDLs.
Yeah.
We were on half pay, we were on budget, so I was like,
you snatched a few
Bundy
words.
UDL.
Mate, funny story again. We're going proper side quest here again. But do you ever remember the Ozducks, the racing Thundercats?
Yeah.
So when we were down the coast, down at my parents' place, they had the little beach shack down at the basin. My old boy got obsessed with trying to get one of these Thundercats, and we bought one, and it was the one that won the very first Thundercat race ever.
Oh, wow.
And it was a dark and stormy Bundaberg race boat.
Oh,
Not
nice.
kidding you. We'd have photos of it. Literally had the dark and stormy down the side.
Yep.
And I had the Bundy stickers all over with the 50 horse Yamahas full trim. Man, that thing went 100 k's an hour like that. It was wild. They raced them in the surf and we took it out in the surf and you hit a 4-foot wave, get 6 foot air. It was madness. Nice. It was crazy.
Yeah, it would be. And the swell down there is nothing like it is up here.
Oh, mate, it was crazy.
Even the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
I remember the 4 metre. It was like looking up 3 stories. You'd be out there and...
We take the Stavy out, mate. You sit at the bottom and you look on both sides of proper walls of water.
My old man bought an $8,000 old fiberglass thing. Yeah. We used to be 30 k's out.
Yeah.
And the thing had just stopped.
Oh, no.
Airlock in the fuel. So, hey, no, it should be right. You'd undo the fuel line, plug it back in, away you go again. Yeah. Mate, out in the middle of that shit, massive swell, and
Not about that.
But that's what they did back then, mate.
Yeah.
They had no money,
Yeah.
and that's what they did. They just learned to use what they had.
100%. Mate, true or false to finish? You were once the mayor of Darwin.
Yeah, no.
No?
Yeah, no.
Oh, really?
I don't know who told you that.
Mate, Jacko told me that one. I thought that one was legit.
I'll have to have words with him after this.
Kaylee gave me the next one, mate. Kaylee gave me the next one. One of your eyes is actually glass and you lost it in a croc fight.
That's true.
That is true.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it really?
No.
That's hectic. I can't believe it. Not true?
No.
She told me it was true.
No, but
I was trying to pick which one it was.
I have got a lens got changed over in it. I had cataracts at one stage, so
Okay, right.
it's half plastic.
Half. Okay, so it's half true, but it's not the croc fight.
It's a half truth.
Have you ever done a crocodile roll? Have you ever rolled a croc?
No,
No.
not going there.
Not going there? Mate, I love it. Speaking of crocs, what's the biggest animal you could survive in a fight?
Definitely a silver dog.
Silver dog. Oi! You had that one banked, didn't you?
I did.
Mate, I love that.
Yeah, I wasn't going for the white shark. I didn't think. I thought, no, he hasn't eaten enough early.
Yeah. Well, mate, I'm telling you, I'm bloody hungry. I haven't eaten today. We're going to go eat some croc schnitzel or something after this. Mate, final one to finish up with. Tell me something about yourself that very few people would know.
Probably, I used to play a lot of sports as a kid.
Okay.
Cricket, soccer, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Wasn't too bad.
Okay.
But when we moved out in the middle of the nowhere,
Yeah.
there was nothing else to do. There was no sporting teams or anything.
Yeah.
I was a single doubles and junior champion in lawn bowls.
In lawn bowls?
In lawn bowls.
Was it just you by yourself? No one else played, or?
Well, no.
Okay,
There was at least one other. No, there was actually quite a few kids involved.
Okay.
But yeah, it's not something you see every day.
Yeah, right.
But there wasn't anything else going on, and the
you
kids
play
got
the
into
lawn
that
bowls?
stuff. So yeah, it's pretty weird.
Are you good? Still?
I haven't rolled a bowl since I was about 13.
I reckon you and Jimmy should go head to head on the lawn bowls.
Oh yeah, that'd be good.
I reckon.
Yeah,
He probably
absolutely.
plays a heaps of retirement league, so he might kick your ass, but.
Well, he's got 10 years head start. Like he's got 10 years. Oh, I've got 10 years on him, so he should be all right, eh?
Yeah, we'll see how we go.
Yeah.
We'll have to line that up. I reckon that's on. Next summit,
There
mate,
you
you're
go.
going to get a bowling green. You boys are going to have
There
a
you
bowling.
go, inaugural APS lawn bowls
100%.
competition
It's on.
for
It's
all
on.
those 50s, over 50s, and
They're gonna be on board next year.
we'll give him a head start 'cause he looks like he's over 50.
Mate, he's gonna be killing himself on this one. Mate, this is good. Man, Big Marky boy, mate, all I can say is thank you so much, like I said before, for coming on, man, sharing your story,
My
being so
pleasure,
raw
mate.
and real and everything you've covered off today as well, man. So I just want to say a massive thank you for jumping on.
My pleasure.
Any final words to the people, mate, or done and dusted?
No, mate, I think we're
Good
done
to
and
go.
dusted. I think we've
Mate,
fried that chook pretty well.
I think we've done pretty well. Can I ask you, we ate croc last night. Is it a thing to eat here, or is it just like a novelty?
Tourists eat it.
Tourists,
Yeah.
You don't eat it?
Yeah, we laugh at tourists that
Yeah,
eat
I'll
it.
say, yeah, thanks, mate. It was. We had. Mate, I'll tell you what. The croc schnitzel was a bit average, but the croc spring rolls. I don't know if it was actually croc, but they were actually pretty good.
Yeah, they're just big goannas, you know.
Yeah.
Taste like shit, but you can live on it.
Yeah, there you
That's
go.
what Dundee said, wasn't it?
I don't know, man. I don't know. That's yours and Jimmy ears, mate. Don't bring me into this conversation. All right, mate. Thank you, Marky boy, so much for joining us on today's podcast, mate. It honestly was an absolute pleasure. Listeners, I hope you took some great value out of today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And if you did, like we've said the whole way through this thing, if you got parents, they're in their 50s or getting on a little bit and they think there's no options, there's nothing to do, send this episode on to them, share the love, get them to get around it, sit and watch it with them, explain different things to them if they don't understand different things in this as well. And if you can help change their financial trajectory, this will give Marky and I a lot of I think enjoyment and satisfaction. Very well put, out of putting today's podcast together. If you know anyone else who would take some great value or just love listening to Mark's story as well, please send it on. Keep sharing the love. If you haven't left us a 5-star review yet on your favorite listening platform, we would massively appreciate if you could jump on there, literally click in there right now, guys. Hit the 5-star review, hit the follow, subscribe button. And otherwise, guys, that's a wrap for another Scouting Australia podcast.